Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Happy Thursday, Cleveland, and all Browns fans and Cleveland sports fans everywhere. Don't adjust your screen. No, Bull is not on the wing today. That's Mayor Bibb. We ran into Mayor Bibb at the Feed the Need.
Yeah. Yes, we did.
And I had a conversation with him and said, we'd love to have you back. And he's like, let me know. I'm pleased that we got you on the schedule this fast because it's always great to see you.
Excited to be here. We had a good time last time, by the way.
Yeah.
We're glad to hear that. We're glad to hear that. We're going to, I promise you it will be mostly sports. All right? I promise you that.
Yeah.
I asked you this at Feed the Need, and I'd love to start today's show with this.
Yeah.
What's it like to be the mayor of a city whose football team has its playoff destiny in its own hands?
It's a really damn good feeling to be 7-4 right now with some momentum headed into LA this weekend. But to see the Browns doing well, the Cavs are looking up, I think, too. So I think we got a good future for Cleveland sports.
Yeah. What's it been like for you to watch? How do you watch on a typical Sunday? Are you one of those that has to be alone? Do you want to be surrounded by friends and family?
Well, the last couple Browns games, I've been on my couch watching.
There it is.
But I was at opening a day, which we had a really good time at the stadium. I was at the opening night for the Cavs, and we got beat by the Thunder, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I prefer most close games. I like being at home. So I can yell at the TV by myself.
So you are a yeller then?
Yeah, I'm a yeller.
One of us.
I'm a yeller.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I got to follow that up. Now,
Yeah.
does Mayor Bibb have to go to the ticket office like the rest of us, or do you pull up? Like,
no, I get my own tickets.
And are those tickets by Myles Garrett? Like, do you get the Myles Garrett joints, like the ones right by courtside?
I don't say courtside, but I get good tickets.
Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Look, the mayor has to have perks. Right? I mean, why else would you want to be mayor if it doesn't come with some perks?
One of the best perks is they get to park in the bottom of the stadium.
That is a game changer.
That's the best perk
That's
of
a
being
game
mayor,
changer.
by the way.
Do you have a camera like follow you like they do in the NBA? Like we got the outfit on?
That's a good idea, by the way.
That is sweet. That's a
Mayor
great
Fitz
promotion.
rolling into the stadium.
I want to see him do his walk-in with the puffy coat.
Yeah.
Had on.
Yes, and we need the slow motion video, the 4K slow-mo with the little.
I can't pull the DTR fit off.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know, Mayor.
That fit was next level.
It was nice.
Oh, we saw Bo in it yesterday.
We debated the purse. Is it a purse? Is it a
Look at
purse?
this.
Is it a bag? What is that?
It's a merce.
It is a merce.
It's a merce.
See, that's what I said.
It's a merce.
I immediately said it was a merce.
Yeah, I'd say he immediately came with a small dog.
He said, doesn't that come with a white dog?
Yeah, white little dog, and it sits out the front. Yeah, that's what it is.
I love that.
So I said that we'll talk a little bit of politics. I think we have to because we have the mayor. I mean, how can we not? You've announced that you're going to run for re-election.
I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Before we get into the future, let's get into what your time in office has been like so far. Is it what you expected? Is it more than you expected?
Absolutely. In a job like this, being mayor of a major American city during this time in our country and in the world, it's more than you can expect because a lot of the challenges that we see in our country, from poverty to violent crime to the complexities of what's happening in the Middle East right now, are all on our front doorsteps right now as mayors across the country. But to be a son of Cleveland, leading our transformation right now, for me is a dream come true because we have so much potential to truly be, I think, a globally competitive city long term. And we have all the ingredients to get it done now, and to be at the helm leading it during this transformation has been an exciting time.
You know, when I grew up, Cleveland was the major hub of everything, right? It's big. I grew up in Canton, Ohio. And as I've grown, you start to see more and more people leaving Cleveland, leaving some of these places. What are some things, ideas you have to get people not only not to leave, but get people, draw them back into the city?
Well, I think you're seeing a lot more young talent choosing Cleveland now versus staying in New York, Chicago, LA, or Silicon Valley. Just this year, we hosted 2 major events, Forbes 30 under 30.
Yep.
We have folks from almost every state in the country come to Cleveland for that event. MGK was there, Kendall Jenner was there, Bad Bunny was there, really showcasing Cleveland to the world. And then a couple of days before that, we hosted the second ever Futureland Summit. Baron Davis was one of the keynote speakers for our Futureland Summit. Rich Paul was one of the keynote speakers last year, really highlighting Cleveland as a hub for diverse tech and arts and culture talent. And so there's a lot of things happening that I'm excited about in terms of our transformation. And I think we're making the big bets now to attract and retain that young talent for the future as well, too.
What are those bets?
Well, the first big bet is the work we're doing with our riverfront and our lakefront. As you know, Dan Gilbert has committed up to $4 billion of investment to transform the Cuyahoga River. The Cavs are moving the practice facility to the Cuyahoga River. We are now embarking on a brand new master plan for the lakefront with the Browns, the Rock Hall, Great Lakes Science Center, really making that America's North Coast. Because one of the things I get jealous about when I go to Chicago, New York, LA is they've maximized their waterfronts. We haven't done a good enough job of doing that in Cleveland, and I think with the investments we're teeing up right now, we can be one of the truly first 2 waterfront cities in America.
That's a Herculean task, and
a big
it doesn't
job.
happen overnight.
It does not.
Take us through the timeline and what the waterfront looks like in your mind when it's complete.
Well, I think every mayor since Tom Johnson has had a lakefront plan.
None of them have got it as far as you have.
No, and we've been moving really, really fast. So the master plan for the lakefront will be done by the first quarter of next year. And I envision this as a place where you could live, work, and play. New beaches, new storefronts, new food halls, a boutique hotel, a place where you can play pickup basketball or pickleball, but a place that reflects the beauty of Cleveland. Because for a long time, especially on the east side, the lakefront was cut off to us, right, because of that highway, which is a model of redlining and segregation. And for a long time in the city, the river and the lakefront was a dividing line, east side, west side, black and white, right? We want to change that and make our waterfronts a place of healing and a place where everybody in Cleveland feels they can see themselves in that asset.
I know this would only be partly your decision, but in a new lakefront plan, does that involve a new stadium for the Browns?
Well, we are in current negotiations with the Browns and the Haslam, so I can't speak too much about it, but I'm committed to keeping the Browns on the lakefront. I'm committed to creating a deal that is fair to Clevelanders, but also competitive to make sure we can keep the Browns in the core of our city.
Do you get a sense that the Haslams share your vision for a downtown future?
Absolutely. They really helped jumpstart our vision for the lakefront with the plans they released in 2021. And so we got a nice head start with their early plans that they rendered. And we picked up those plans and are running full steam ahead to make sure we can execute this vision.
Go ahead, Chief.
No, I was saying, I go back and you look at the Cleveland Browns leaving the first time. There was a delicate balance between, hey, we want you here, but we want you to pay your fair share. What does that look like, and is that come into play when they are invested in Milwaukee?
Yeah, it certainly comes into play, and my number one responsibility as mayor is to make sure that for the residents of Cleveland that we have a fiscally responsible budget. And I'm going to do everything I can as we negotiate this deal to protect the general revenue fund. But I'm willing to be creative in terms of how we finance the renovation of the stadium, but also how we finance all the enabling infrastructure we have to get done to make our vision for the lakefront and the riverfront a reality.
Yesterday on Channel 3, we did a story that the Globetrotters are planning a trip to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse.
Oh, great.
And we had one of their players visit the school that every year Channel 3 adopts a school for our reading program. And we follow those kids throughout the year. It's been wildly successful, and it's been very, very rewarding as a journalist to watch the growth in these young students as we've really put them under the microscope. It's a lot of pressure on these kids in the school and particularly the teacher. But yesterday, one of the things that really stood out to me about this whole program is the power of inspiration. And there was a Globetrotters player that came to town ahead of the team's visit to promote their coming to Cleveland. And he told a story to the entire school about how in the 9th grade, the Harlem Globetrotters came to his school, and he sat in attendance and he said, that's what I'm going to do. And he's living that dream right now. And I bring that up to you because you, as you know, are a powerful figure in this community, not just because you're mayor, because you are that shining example of what you can do when you put your mind to it. When you were a 9-year-old boy, what was your vision for your future? And second part, what is your message to all the 9-year-old boys and girls in Cleveland that may feel a lack of hope, but there's a bridge to get to where they want to go?
Yeah. Well, when I was 9 years old, my first love was basketball. And I quickly learned in high school that that was not going to be in the cards for me in terms of playing in the NBA or playing pro ball.
Or even a Globetrotter.
Exactly, or playing college ball at Duke. But I fell in love with learning at a young age because my parents were working 2 jobs. Although they were divorced, they did whatever they could do to make sure that we made ends meet and we made a way out of no way. And I would get lost in the books in my library growing up on 121st and Dove. And so the power of learning for me helped me find a new reality, despite the fact that I grew up in a hard, impoverished neighborhood. And I believe you can make it out of Cleveland and make things happen in Cleveland, you can do anything you want to do. And there's so many countless examples of amazing people who have done amazing things that not only impacted our city and our state, but our nation. From Carl B. Stokes, the first black mayor of a major American city, to now a guy like Rich Paul, who is leading the sports and entertainment business with Clutch and his sports agency group. And so it's so important that we show young people that you are what you see. That's why I dedicate a lot of my time talking to young folks, going to schools, going to ball games. I'll be at the Glenville State Football Championship game Saturday night.
They beat my alma mater.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
But I'm pulling for them all the way now.
Yeah, making sure we bring another state football championship to our city. But we, as leaders now, have to do a better job of showing up for our young people and giving them that hope every single day.
We're on a sports show, so I have to ask, and we'd be remiss if we didn't, but what was Mayor Bibb's NBA comp when you were a basketball player back in 9th, 10th grade?
Ooh, I mean, I was a big Terrell Brandon fan.
An OG.
Right?
An OG.
Right. So I was a guy who had solid dribble game, good court vision, but I love getting my points when I need to get my points. You know?
So you could score.
I could score.
That's nice.
Had a good baseline J.
Very nice.
Still do.
You got to get him out on your pickup games.
I run in East Cleveland twice a week if you ever want to come out and play.
I might pull up.
Matt, wherever
I might pull up.
Yeah, please.
I might pull up.
I think I can make an exception.
That would literally blow the building up. People would go nuts.
I just go easy on defense because I can't afford to break or tear anything.
Yeah, don't get hurt
right now.
You can't have that.
Yeah.
You know, Mayor, the people of Ohio have spoken. They had marijuana, legalizing marijuana on the ballot. What does that look like from an infrastructure standpoint and the financial ramifications of that being legalized? Do we have any idea of how that looks inside the city and what's going? Where do we go from here with that?
Well, as you know, when I took office last year, we led the effort to work to expunge low-level marijuana misdemeanors on folks' criminal records because a lot of folks in our city couldn't get access to a bank loan to start a business, couldn't get access to financial aid because they had these low-level drug offenses on their record. And so we are now working to expunge nearly 4,000 low-level marijuana misdemeanors in the city of Cleveland. But beyond that, we are now working with the legislature to figure out how much tax revenue can we get from the legalization of marijuana. So
do you have an idea what that number might be?
No idea quite yet, but I know from folks that I've talked to in Michigan, we were losing a whole lot of revenue from folks going up to Michigan,
I've heard stories.
buying legal marijuana. And so it's past time that Ohio and Cleveland gets its fair share.
A piece of the bill, and I was unaware of this until yesterday, we did this story on Channel 3, was that, and as it's currently written, is that actual marijuana offenders would have an inside track to becoming entrepreneurs and owning dispensaries, which I thought was really interesting. It sounds like that's going to become very political, and that may be stripped from the bill. What's your thought on that?
That's equity. That's equity.
Yeah.
You know, too many people in our country and in our state and in our city have gone to prison for far too long because of low-level marijuana offenses. And they deserve their fair share because many of their white counterparts are making a whole lot of money on marijuana right now.
Yeah.
So this is all about doing right by those folks.
It'd be interesting to see those dollars flow into some of these communities legally.
Exactly.
And how that might change the face of
Yes.
some of the blight throughout the city, not just here in Cleveland, but in many major cities throughout Ohio. A couple of big issues that I want to get to before we let you go, because I know you're on a schedule. You recently made a very interesting comment to me, one that I know was applauded in many circles, about the gun violence in Cleveland. There's been so many different avenues to attack that. And Cleveland is not alone. This is a problem in most major American cities. And you said something that I'm not sure if it's completely unique, but I hadn't heard it. You looked to the parents of these young kids, 13, 14-year-olds, who are roaming streets with guns illegally. And as we've tried to solve this unsolvable Rubik's Cube, you said the parents play a role in this.
Yeah.
Any pushback from that? How was that received? And that I know of, I haven't heard many go that route.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's common sense. I think we can all here this afternoon recognize that it is not the government's responsibility to raise people's children. It's the government's responsibility to provide the infrastructure for safety, to provide good quality education in good schools, to provide opportunity in our neighborhoods. And that's what my administration is working on every single day. But when you have hundreds of young people downtown at night, beyond curfew hours, without a chaperone, that's a problem. And we need parents and caregivers to step up. And if you're a parent or caregiver and you know your teenager has a gun, you need to have a hard conversation with that child because there is no reason why they need a gun. And it's important that our parents and caregivers make sure they know where their children are. When I was growing up, my mama, my grandma, my dad, they knew where I was.
Right.
It is unacceptable.
Strong.
To piggyback that, do you are you for universal background checks? For
Absolutely.
guns?
I'm for universal background checks. I'm for red flag laws. I'm for common sense gun safety laws. We had a young child in our city get shot in the head earlier this year because a gun was laying on a couch after the parents had a party. But because of our legislature in Columbus, I can't pass any common sense gun safety legislation that would have provided any penalties regarding that.
That's all done on the state level.
State level. And 80% of folks in our state want to see background checks, want to see red flag laws, want to see common sense gun safety laws on the books. 80% of Ohioans. And I'm a big believer in the Second Amendment. But the Second Amendment should have some limitations.
I like the way you said it. Common sense.
Common sense gun reform.
Needs to prevail. Yeah. We have a light note that we're going to get you out of here on, but before we do that, I have to ask an airport question.
Yes.
This is a big issue right now for a lot of Clevelanders. I know you want to extend. There's been some goings on recently that looks like it might just be sort of a stopgap to get to ultimately where we want to go. Where is the airport project and what's the future?
We are in current negotiations with the airline carriers to support the financing for the renovation of Hopkins International Airport. As you know, the economy is changing, and construction costs have risen, supply chain issues, and so that's impacted the cost, but I'm confident we're going to find the right deal at the right price point to make sure we can see shovels in the ground over the next couple of years to transform our airport.
You're running again.
Yes, I am.
Everyone wants to know what comes after that.
Well, hopefully I'm blessed to be reelected by the voters of Cleveland in 2025, and we'll see what happens after that. There is a lot of work that needs to be done in our city, and I inherited problems that we've been trying to tackle for over 75 years. Those won't be solved in one term. They may not be solved in 2 terms. So more to come soon on that.
And check your email because we have a
I've
Mayor
got it
Bibb
ready,
edit.
Mike.
I'll call it in 1 sec, but we're going to get you out on a fun topic here and a weird transition from guns and airplanes to this. What would be a bigger draw for the city of Cleveland? A Browns championship parade or a free Taylor Swift concert?
Browns championship parade.
Right answer, by the way. Right answer.
That's the only
Yeah.
answer.
Is it close?
No.
I mean, one would
That's
be
the
big.
right answer.
One would
But-
be big for women.
but my plea,
but
though,
the Browns championship parade would be big for everybody.
about she's-
If Travis and Taylor get married, wedding's got to be in the land.
Can you
gotta
work that
be.
out?
I got plenty of land for him. Plenty of land for it, for a great wedding in the land.
You'd have votes forever.
Yes.
By the
I'll make
way.
it happen.
Yes.
You know, you mentioned.
We gave MGK a day. We might have to give Travis a week for that
Listen,
one.
they would deserve it, and Taylor as well. We're going to play a piece of video after you leave about Travis Kelce
Yeah.
and MGK on their podcast, where MGK makes an offer
Yeah.
for Travis to come home and play for the Browns. And the one thing that stood out to me about that clip was, A, the money's not nearly big enough. Sorry, MGK, I know you got deep pockets, but 500 large, not going to do it for
I'll
Travis.
take the 500K if Travis.
Yeah, exactly.
Give it to me, MGK.
But what was your reaction to what was obvious, his passion for the city of Cleveland?
I really just love that. I think I watched it 10 times yesterday.
He needs to be an ambassador of our
I
city.
agree. And they really are. Both MGK and Travis really represent the authentic, resilient, amazing nature we have as Clevelanders, and it's really great to see them on the global stage.
What's interesting to me is one day both will end up very near their hometown
Yep.
in Canton.
Yep.
There are credible arguments to be made that Jason is the best center, not in the game today, ever.
Yeah.
There are credible arguments to be made that Travis Kelce is not just the best tight end in the game today, ever.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
That'd be great.
And right here from our
Two Cleveland
small, little
boys.
humble
Two
city
Cleveland
of
boys.
Cleveland. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, you know Bull was here. He was going to argue with you on that one.
I know he was.
Jay's top 5 at best. Top 5 at
Top
best.
5
And
at
do you have the
best.
tag board?
Oh, I've got it ready.
So, Mayor Bibb, we mentioned earlier DTR and the swag.
Yeah.
Well, our guy Kyle Brenner is a maestro with Photoshop, and he sent us this during the interview. So,
Uh-oh, what would he look like?
Let's take
I'm
tag
nervous.
board here.
Who
Let's
wore
see
it
if-
better?
Steve.
Oh, stop. That better not go viral by the
I didn't do it. I didn't. This is from the viewer, so shout out to Kyle.
Man.
Viral.
I
I think
think-
that's your
I think-
campaign
Hey,
photo.
New York Fashion Week, here we come.
That's
Let's
great.
go. Let's
Look, he
go.
looks better than Bull. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
The bag
You
is
are-
kind of dope, by the way. I'm not
it
gonna
is
lie.
bag.
You pull that off. With Bull, it did not look right.
Yeah.
You can
That's
pull that look
hilarious.
off.
That's great.
Mayor, as always,
Thank you so
you know
much.
we're fans of you.
Thanks for having
and
me,
we
fellas.
love that you're a fan of the show.
I appreciate it.
Always an open invitation to come back. When the Browns make the playoffs, you have to come
Gotta
back
come
in.
back.
Would love to.
All right, great.
I'll wear my Nick Chubb jersey next time, too.
Wonderful. The
There we
mayor
go.
of Cleveland,
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Justin
you so
Bibb.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
You got these.
All right, we talked about the. Do you want to do the read before we show the Kelce video?
Yeah, I want to remind everybody really
Okay.
quick
Stay
that
here. Okay.
as the weather keeps getting colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. Right now, and that's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is free and easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options like spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So you guys can visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
All right, great. We talked about that video. If you haven't seen it yet, it was pretty entertaining. MGK on Travis Kelce and Jason's podcast. MGK has an offer for Travis Kelce. We thought it was interesting, and we thought you might enjoy it. Take a look.
Hells, what's good, dog?
I'm sure you get asked this question behind closed doors a lot.
Oh,
but
shit.
I would be remiss if, due to the nature of our friendship and just as a Clevelander, that I did not answer this question personally.
Okay.
I don't even know what's
I will
happening
give
anymore.
you $500,000 cash upon arrival just for shopping or whatever you want, as well as matching that same amount as a donation to both of our high schools, both Shaker Heights and Cleveland Heights, as well as everyday breakfast and coffee delivery from my restaurant.
Oh,
If you would just come home and put on these colors right here.
You know that was the original dream, dog. You know that was the dream.
Come on home, Trav. When the contract is up, come home, put these colors on, and rock the city.
Hey, I'll tell you what, man. That is an intriguing offer. It is an intriguing offer because you know how much we love the east side of Cleveland, the Heights, Shaker Heights, Cleveland Heights. You already know, brother. I'm not gonna lie. Situation's pretty good in Kansas City.
I'm there with a briefcase like this just for shopping.
On arrival. That shit's legendary, man. You already know. That was the original dream, though. You already know when they brought the team back. Like I remember. I think I cried in Coach Chudzinski's face when I was getting drafted to like, please let me fucking play for Cleveland. It was like one of my dreams to play for the Browns. But
my fingers crossed, and you don't have to. There is no decision that needs to be made right now. But just know my offer is real and it's on the table. And I'll take the season. I'll make beats in the locker room every day.
You already know.
Set up a studio in the closet if that's what needs to happen to make Travis come home and
Choo, man. You already know, man. I'll tell you what. I'll consider it if Jason considers it too, though.
Except y'all got to split the $500K.
Yeah, no, I get it.
That's just my own. That was just personal shopping money from my own account. So y'all got to split that.
You already know. It's Heights. It's the Heights. Cleveland Heights, Shaker Heights. We just split it 5 pieces.
I'll see you soon, Trav. I'm sure I'll be I'll be sending you all the new music since you
every time, dog. You know I'm still rocking with everything.
My secret muse for sending music and seeing what's working and what's not.
You know the real ones that get back to you, dog. You're the best, bro. I appreciate you giving the shout. Shout out to Cleveland. Shout out to the Browns. Shout out to the East Side forever, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Later.
Pains my heart
It
to
hurts.
hear him say that was his dream and he was crying to the Browns. Please draft me.
Hey, man, I'm so happy, man. Like, listen, we really made a deal, though. Like, we really did get Kelce, right? The black people did.
Wait a minute, what?
We traded Will Smith for Kelce in the second round.
Oh,
and his dividends have paid off.
You passed on Will Smith now.
Yes.
He lost his card.
Listen, we amnestied Will Smith.
Yeah.
We got Kelce.
Drafted him into the club.
And we got a potential second round pick on top of that.
Could you imagine, and you know, hindsight's 2020, nobody knew Travis Kelce was going to become Travis Kelce. But could you imagine, had the Browns drafted him, how the
played it all
fate of
out.
their organization would look differently today?
I'm going to read this off my phone because I wrote it all out. This is exactly how it would go. 0 questions, 100% guaranteed. So let's just pretend they draft Travis Kelce in 2013, right?
Yeah.
Well, the Browns' quarterbacks for the next couple of years were still Deshaun Kaiser, Cody Kessler, Jason Campbell, and Josh McCown. So he might have been decent early in his career, but the Browns as a team
they would have looked better.
Would have looked better, but minimally better. Yeah. So I think in this case, for the sake of argument, they still would have had the first pick in 2017. They took Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's phenomenal. We love Myles Garrett. But because you have a dynamic tight end, you need to pair him up with a quarterback. So they draft Patrick Mahomes first overall in 2017. Now remember, they had the 12th overall pick in that draft too, which in this instance they still trade. And they need a pass rusher, right? So instead of drafting Jabril Peppers, they take TJ Watt.
Peppers, what a pig.
So now we got TJ Watt, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce. And when you draft Patrick Mahomes, Joe Thomas says, I'm not retiring. I got to protect my rookie. So Joe Thomas is still playing in this scenario too. Andy Reid is a free agent during this time. He looks around. He goes, I need a young quarterback. I like this Mahomes kid. Enough that I would have traded up for him in Kansas City. I'm going to go coach the Browns. We win 7 straight Super Bowls.
Oh, wow, 7.
7 straight. You tell me they still draft Nick Chubb the next year. You win the Super Bowl from 2018 to 2023, and we are still looking good. Had the Browns drafted Travis Kelce in 2013, he would have been throwing to Patrick Mahomes with Travis Kelce. Josh Gordon sticks around. He lays off the weed because he's so good. The team's winning. You don't need weed when you're winning.
Oh, my goodness.
You still get Denzel Ward.
He would have been as depressed.
It's the city of champions. Kelce overtakes LeBron James as the most popular Cleveland homegrown athlete ever. The Browns have so much money from 7 Super Bowls that Jimmy Haslam buys a house on the moon and leaves forever. And the second richest man I know, Jay Crawford, buys the Browns. So now Jay's running the Browns in this scenario. Jimmy Haslam's on the moon, and we just win Super Bowls year after year after year.
No, I'm not buying the Browns. That will go to Matt Collig.
Did you just turn Jimmy Haslam into Dr. Manhattan?
A little bit.
He moved him to the
Well,
moon.
I just moved him to the moon. Yeah, just a little
Moved him
bit.
to the moon.
Anthony, that was for you. I see you back there.
Thank
He
you,
was like
G.
left. It was like, oh my God, that was a reference.
He was the only one in this room that got the reference.
I just said yes.
did
he
get the
could've
I
said-
just
he could've said
laughed and
anything
nodded
else.
my head because I figured it had something to do with that.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? You said the best part of that was he would actually have overtaken LeBron James as the most popular homegrown Cleveland athlete. If he won 7 Super Bowls, I think that's undeniable.
Yeah, that's the,
Yeah,
the
that
caveat, but yeah.
My goodness, I don't think it would have been all that, but
Fine.
I think we would have been relevant.
Let's compromise. 6 Super Bowls.
Okay,
And if they
knock
sign,
it down from 7.
if they sign him when he is done with being in Kansas City, just think we could take all the direct snaps he can have.
Yeah, he can replace Harrison.
He'll just be coming in like we have Travis Kelce. Why do we need to throw it to him?
There is
Why
some
not direct
precedent.
snap it to him?
There is some precedent of tight ends, Hall of Fame tight ends, late in their career coming back. Jason Witten played till he was 38. Antonio Gates played till he was 38. Tony Gonzalez played till he was 37. When he's done in Kansas City, he'll be 36, which is on the back end of his career still. But it wouldn't be unheard of for a Hall of Fame caliber tight end to sign a 1 or 2 year deal with another team to finish out his career.
Even after he signed his last deal, which I knew would take him into his late 30s, I still expect at some point he's going to want to come home. He's going to want to put that Browns uniform on before he calls it a career. So maybe if it's just for that one last year. But could you imagine Jason and Travis Kelce? And the difference those guys are homegrown guys.
Yeah.
And I know Bull would, of course, argue. He would say, Mike Webster. His veins would pop out.
Yeah.
The whole thing, it would be nasty. But, I think both are in the discussion for the greatest to ever play that position.
I don't know enough about centers. I'll be honest, the old centers from the 60s and 70s, sure. Jason Kelce's as good as I've ever seen.
Mike Webster stands out as one of the all-time greats. There's been a lot of great centers.
Dermontti Dawson was great for a lot of years.
Kelce
is good.
Kelce's so good at one particular play, the league is going to ban it.
Yeah. And other teams have
about
tried,
that.
and they can't
Every team
replicate
has
the
tried.
success. They can't.
It looks pedestrian when anyone other than the Eagles run that play. They don't. But when the Eagles run it, there's no drama in it at all.
No,
It's a
You
guarantee.
know he's
First
going to
down.
move the pile 2 yards.
Death taxes and the tush push.
First down.
Unreal.
And as far as the tight ends go, Travis Kelce, if he's not number 1 in your books, he's got to be in your top 3, and it comes down to preference. If you wanted someone who blocked a little more and you wanted to say Gronk or Shannon
Right now,
Sharp
I
or
do
someone
think he
else,
has to do it for a little longer.
but he's on the trajectory to be on that top
His
2,
Chiefs
3.
have played in how many straight AFC Championship games?
Every year
5?
Mahomes has been a starter. I think 5, maybe 6 now. It's
Maybe
either 5 or
6.
6. But every year Mahomes has been a starter. They've made the AFC
That's
Championship.
that's crazy.
And they've
That's
never
next
played a road
level.
playoff game. Ever.
They've never what?
Played a road playoff game.
Well, in the Super Bowl, obviously it's neutral site.
But I mean,
they've
Mahomes
always had home field
advantage. Mahomes is 0-0
And it
as a
looks like
true
they-
road team in the playoffs.
I know that right now it's the Ravens, but I still think that the Chiefs are going to get the 1 seed. All right, Mike, I know you got to do a read before we move on. So, all right.
My name is Mike.
I know.
Yes.
I don't know why I called you Mike. Yesterday I called Mike Anthony.
You're right.
It
Right.
happens
He got
to the
it
best of us.
backwards, yeah.
He calls me Earl all the time. But I just want to remind everybody, as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers Stay Hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's absolutely no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
All right, great. We've got to talk Browns quarterback.
Joe Flacco.
It looks like Flacco is officially the quarterback number 2 on the Browns roster, moving past, as our friend Tyvus would call him, Phillip on the depth chart. P.J. Walker now the number 3 quarterback on this depth chart. That's obviously the big question for Sunday is DTR going to clear protocol? He didn't yesterday. He didn't practice. We'll find out later today if he's going to practice today. It's looking more and more unlikely that he's going to be out there. So it probably will be Flacco. I think the bigger part of this, we'll talk about Flacco and how he'll do against the Rams, but are you guys completely on board with the P.J. Walker experiment coming to an end as the number 2?
Yeah, I was done with it when he was winning. I just couldn't find the off-ramp.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, this guy done won again. That's done for me. I think they need to go get another quarterback. To be honest with you, I can't put him back out there like that, man.
Yeah.
The wheels done fell off on PJ. He got us to win. Shout out to him. No disrespect to him. I thought he played well against Seattle. Obviously played well enough to win against the 49ers at home. But Now it's down to the nitty-gritty, and these games all count.
You can't afford any mistakes at this point. And P.J. Walker for his career, 6 touchdowns, 22 turnovers. You just can't win, succeed, thrive in any scenario of football, no matter how good your defense is. If you're giving the ball to the other team 2.5 times per game, that's 6 touchdowns, that's 22 turnovers. There's not a single metric, stat, analytic, or eye test that can watch P.J. Walker play football and be like, that guy can help me win football games.
Nuts?
Despite the fact he's 6-4 as a starter, which makes no sense.
You can point to every metric that measures a quarterback and say he's way below standard. And then you look at his win-loss record and you say, wait a minute, smoke and mirrors, how the hell is this guy doing that?
Because wins and losses
beat the 49ers.
It's not a quarterback stat, though. Wins and losses, we get caught up sometimes.
They get credit for it, though, more than any other player. You never see
P.J.
anybody
Walker
say...
was 0 for 5 on the game-winning drive against San Francisco.
Understand.
0 for 5.
But he won the game.
Won.
I mean,
but it wasn't against P.J.
I'm
Walker.
not advocating for him to be the number 2. All I'm saying is, you mentioned every single metric that measures quarterback play. He is woefully below average, probably dead last in the league in all of them.
He's 32nd.
Yet there's
EPA
one stat that, and this is the stat the quarterbacks are measured by. Ultimately, there's one thing: are you winning games? He did that, and I'll never figure out how he did it. Especially when you're at a more than 3-to-1 turnovers to touchdowns.
It makes no sense.
It's almost 4-to-1.
It's closer to 4-to-1 than it is to 3-to-1. It makes no sense. And P.J. Walker, bless his soul, he's probably a great dude. His teammates love him, and that you do get points for that. He's a locker room guy, and the guys in the locker room clearly play hard for P.J. Walker, and he's tough as shit. We've seen it time after time. Like, he gets clocked, he gets back up, and that means something. But if you watch the actual football play, I can't get out of my head what G said on Monday. He's like a 2-year-old carrying a sippy cup. And you just can't trust a 2-year-old on a white carpet to carry a sippy cup. And right now, the Browns season is a brand new white carpet, and you can't have that stain or your mom's going to kill you. And Joe Flacco gives you a better chance of surviving a 2-year-old with a red sippy cup with cranberry juice or something than P.J. Walker.
Y'all know how he did it. Like, I'm going to really switch it up. Like, I'm going to start acting like the baseball guys. Y'all don't look at win-loss records for pitchers like that.
No, but it is, it's the stat that's listed first for all pitchers. I mean, ERA is way more important. I look at WHIP. I look at a lot of other things. But you are what your record says you are. That was famously said once upon a time by, I believe, Bill Parcells.
Well,
and it's true.
I believe it's part of that. But you can look at it and you say, how does it happen? Well, look, in baseball, you can have a couple rough outings. You can give up a lot of hits. But your team gives you run support, right? You just happen.
It was the Cal Quantrill effect.
Right, absolutely happened to Cal a couple years ago. He could lose.
And then you were like, you look at the lineup. The lineup overall might not be powerful or have run support, but you're like, every 4th day they get 9 runs for this guy, like
and get 1 for Shane Bieber.
They get 1. So when you P.J. Walker and you mess around and your defense is pitching shutouts. And you happen to get some splash plays, and all of a sudden the referees give the Browns some calls. You look mighty good with the win-loss record.
The Browns? What's his record in games that he has started with the Browns? 2-1?
So he beat San Francisco.
Yeah.
He lost to Seattle, but I give him the win in Indianapolis.
Colts.
He didn't technically start,
the bulk
but he played
of the snaps.
But once again, and once again, I don't want to take anything away from PJ. 2-1's 2-1, but they got a couple calls late on the Indy drive.
Oh, they
benefited
did.
them.
No, both of those wins. The San Francisco thing, obviously, the Niners missed a late field goal. Here's what gives me real hope for the season moving forward. The formula outside of the quarterback is, for the most part, what it is. They were all doing it without Nick Chubb. Mm-hmm. PJ did it with a banged-up line. We're still going to have a banged-up line. The defense is still there. Yes, there are some dings on that defense, but it's getting late. Everybody has those. To me, my silver lining in all of this is if P.J. Walker, with everything else around him, can go 2-1, and the victories are against teams with winning records that are both in playoff hunts, I love their chances against Houston, Jacksonville, the Rams, moving forward with a Joe Flacco or at least DTR. He's proven if he's good enough to win with all these other moving parts, there's no reason DTR and Joe Flacco can't win as well.
And if Kevin Stefanski wants to just do what he does, every other game he decides to throw the ball 50 times. I'm going to tell you what, I'd rather have Joe Flacco throwing the ball 50 times than DTR and P.J. Walker.
%.
Because at least McNuggets, he's not going to be fooled.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna see when Joe Flacco's playing. Oh wow, what was he looking at?
I didn't see that.
That one, he really wants that throwback. You're not gonna hear that. Like he might be check down Charlie, but if you want to throw the ball 40 times, the game plan looks a lot better. I bet you Amari Cooper's excited.
Well, and there's two things. So one, we had Leroy Hort on yesterday who said a veteran quarterback wouldn't get fooled by the Broncos showing 8 in the box and then just dropping a guy out.
Right.
And that's probably why, if Stefanski gave him a run-pass option, it was so pass-heavy. He got, I don't want to say confused because I don't know exactly what he was looking at, but the Broncos definitely deceived him into passing the ball more frequently than running. Joe Flacco's seen everything out of the book. He's been in the league for 18 years. He's not going to fool him. He's not going to be disguised or fooled by that. Secondly, most normal people spend their afternoons doing stuff productively. Well, yesterday, I was waiting on my boy Jimmy to get in, so I watched 3 games of the All-22 tape from Flacco last year with the Jets. When he has time to plant his feet and throw the ball, he's still okay. Like, his arm strength isn't what it used to be in 2012 or 2013, but he's still got a good arm. He showed touch on some passes with the Jets. Numbers weren't great. His last touchdown pass was against the Browns. He didn't throw a touchdown in his final 2 games. What worries me about Flacco is as soon as he had to get off platform, if it wasn't a perfect pocket, if
You're
he
in
had
trouble.
he went from being passable to not very good, and that's why he ended up getting benched. The Jets' offensive line last year was an atrocity, and Flacco was a sitting duck back there, and they decided our best chance to win isn't with Flacco running for his life. It was with Zach Wilson or somebody else. If the line can't hold up, then Joe Flacco's in trouble, but so is P.J. Walker. So is DTR, and so is Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, but with those guys, they had options.
A little more mobility.
They could extend plays. They were more mobile, and in the case of DTR and for sure Deshaun Watson,
way more mobile.
They can just make the option to, I'm not going to throw it, I'm going to run it, and oftentimes get a first down. With Joe Flacco, when that pocket breaks, the play's over.
Yeah.
And with the line being in the shape that it's in right now, and the way that certain players were exposed last week that maybe had been looking okay prior to that, that's my biggest fear in this game. My biggest fear is if you ask Joe Flacco to drop back 30 times and stand still, it's not going to end well. To your point, you have to run the ball early and often. It's critical that they don't dig themselves another 14-point lead. Coming from behind with this line and Joe Flacco is almost
a death sentence,
an impossible task. It's just not going to happen.
And Joe Flacco plan makes Kevin Stefanski be disciplined as a play caller. Sometimes when you got guys that can move around and dance and make some plays with their feet, you're like, okay, it's not that bad. If it's, he's thinking like we just said, if it's nothing there, pull it down and run.
Yeah.
But now you got Joe Flacco. That option is off the table. So now you need to be disciplined and say, I know we're not getting what we need to get for the run game, but I want to continue to go back at it so we can give ourselves a chance to be above the sticks. And by the way, Kevin, listen, it's not no harm. Can we see some Pierre Strong? Can we? Well, just one time.
Straight runs, not
razzle
pitches
dazzle
and sweeps and.
Man, so and I don't want to throw this out there, but this happens a lot, man. We know you drafted. We know you drafted him, right?
Ford.
We know you drafted Ford, right? There's so many times where Dale will go to they'll die on that hill because we drafted a guy, we thought he was going to be the backup for Nick Chubb, when obviously he has a bunch of negative plays. We put the graph up. Was it yesterday? When you have a negative run plays and you can't stay in front of the sticks, I think they're enamored with the home run ability a little bit. Like he hit a couple home runs against the Steelers. He ran against the Colts, Seahawks, right? So he's living on a prayer. He's living on his past, bro. Like he's living on them old press clippings. I would like to see Pierre Strong because I think he has a more conducive running style to what you got to do. And that's run the ball and stay ahead of the sticks.
Ford was better against Denver. I mean, he averaged 7 yards a carry,
yes.
Which is what was so baffling as to why they didn't run the ball more in that game. One thing I am interested to see with Flacco versus DTR, or if it was Walker, Flacco can let it rip, but we know DTR from 3 feet away is throwing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah.
And that's led to, I don't want to blame it all on DTR or the receivers. It's some combination. Been a ton of drops the last couple of weeks.
Way too
Flacco
many.
throws a much more, I'll say, catchable ball, which probably isn't the right way to phrase it, but hopefully that helps Njoku more. Even Cooper's dropped a couple. Get them back on track. And one thing we haven't seen all season from the Browns, and if you can think of a and this is when this happened, let me know. What if the Browns run a go route or some deep shot and got called for a pass interference on the other team? Is it like just like
Well, we've only run a handful of go routes.
Well, Joe Flacco, maybe his best asset is underthrowing deep balls and having his receiver have to stop and get in the pass interference call.
Yeah.
If they don't at least dial up one, I'm going to lose my mind on Stefanski on Monday.
Marquise Goodwin is still in protocol.
Yeah, he
right?
didn't practice
Did not
yesterday.
practice again
No.
yesterday.
Well, I don't care who you send deep. Send somebody.
Mari Cooper, Tennessee. They got a pass interference.
They did. He had to stop,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
defensive back ran
Yeah,
into him.
and that's what Joe Flacco has done for his career almost better than anyone else. It's
Yeah.
not even a skill. It's probably just bad throws that have worked out in his favor. But I need to see them try to go deep, at least stretch the defense so that they're not putting 8 guys in the
Keep
box
them
again.
honest, even if it's just wasting a play.
Throw it out of bounds. You
You
can't
know,
even an uncatchable ball.
I love to do that on 2nd and 1.
Yeah.
When you get that 8-9 yard pickup on first down, the playbook is wide open. You want to send a message to the back end of that defense that you're going to try to take the top off of it. 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2, dial up a long ball, keep them honest, keep the safeties from peeking into the backfield to try to help with run support. I don't know. I wish we had a guy that was a true deep threat. We don't have one.
What is it more likely that you're going to see a game where Joe Flacco, you'd be like, oh my goodness, Joe Flacco's balling, or oh goodness, this is bad?
Yeah.
Which is more likely?
That he's balling, because I went back to the Jets game and watched the highlights. I didn't watch the all-22 or the whole game. I watched the highlights, and what I saw from the highlights of that game,
It was great.
Joe Flacco can still throw a
Yeah.
really good deep ball.
Yeah.
And he made great decisions. He saw where the Browns defense was in a breakdown before it happened, just by their alignment. And he called that number, and he checked into some plays, and he made some big throws. If you think about the last 2 drives that the Jets had,
It was a deep ball to Corey Davis.
that there was a complete breakdown by the
Yeah.
Browns, but he saw it.
Garrett
I don't know
Wilson
that a young
played well,
quarterback
yeah.
necessarily sees that. So, I mean, if we could get that Joe Flacco, and there's something to be said, too, for a guy sitting on the couch for 9 weeks and thinking that,
He's
oh,
fresh.
my God, I'm never going to get my hands on an NFL football again.
It's the Kareem Hunt
You
effect.
say something all the time that is so true, and I used to have these dreams a lot when I first quit playing baseball. I used to have, my recurring dream was I was putting my uniform on, and I was in the bullpen, getting loose, getting ready for a start, and I would wake up and I would be depressed.
Oh!
Because I'd be like, I'm never
Never.
going to have that again.
I didn't know
And
you played baseball.
You wake
Well,
up,
I did. I
wake up in tears almost.
Yes. I mean, you felt like you could cry.
Yeah.
And when I first discovered my first amateur adult baseball league,
He was like, it's back.
I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to go out and try this out.
Right.
I don't know what the competition's going to look like, but that first time I put a uniform on that had been over 8 years, I felt like I was 12 years old again. And you've got to imagine Joe Flacco stepping out onto that SoFi field Sunday afternoon. He's going to feel like he did the very first time he stepped on an NFL field again. And hopefully he can manifest that into a really nice performance.
Rejuvenated.
Yeah. Something about that second chance.
It is.
And for him, I know it's more like a 3rd or 4th chance.
Same
but
premise.
This is the chance he probably, more than any
Yeah.
other, thought would never come.
And he did now, because they didn't give him a call. He said, I thought I had something left. I didn't get a call.
He said the phone didn't
The
ring.
phone didn't ring. And so now when he going out, every single practice rep, every single meeting, he's
This
locked
might be
in.
it.
And he's sitting there thinking, what a way to go out. I could get me back.
I got a defense.
I got to get back into the playoffs.
Go make a run.
I guarantee he's talking
And look,
to some old guys
we haven't
right
talked
now.
much about this. Aditi's coming on, and we will with her. But we had talked about the fact that DTR balling out would mean that he would have the job.
Mm-hmm.
But if Joe Flacco goes bananas Sunday,
It's his job. Oh, it's his
we've
job.
got a question on our hands.
No, it's not a question. It's
We're
not a question.
DTR, listen,
Yeah,
we'll
it's
see you
not
in
a
off
question.
season, dog.
Well, yesterday he's number 2 on the depth chart. So if he plays well enough for me,
It's his job.
he can win this job.
If he plays well, it's his job till it's not anymore.
And there's a certain thing about a calming effect of somebody who's we skip over this. He knows the AFC North like the back of his hand.
It was his division.
He's won big games in Cleveland, and he's won a Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and he's got hot before.
There's value in
Yeah.
that.
There's value when you come into the huddle and you say we gonna run this play. You're not just Joe Flacco. They're looking at you like, oh, man, this dude won the Super Bowl.
Right. And I know that most of our viewers don't remember this. I barely remember it, but when the Dolphins had the last undefeated season in the NFL, Bob Greasy went down about 2/3 of the way through the season, and everybody in the NFL thought, well, there goes their perfect season. Even though they had a really good running game then, I don't think anybody thought that Earl Morrall was going to come in and maintain that perfection and take it all the way to a Super Bowl victory. Not saying that that's going to happen here with Joe Flacco, but there is precedent.
But it could. And you know who has a common voice as well? Not just Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
But Anthony, who's going to welcome us with Aditi.
Very calming voice.
Yeah, and before I bring Aditi in, I just want to remind all of you guys that today is a full day of content from UCSS. When we're done here, you can come back later this afternoon for the barbershop.
Nice.
And a special pre-recorded episode of Behind the Glass that Mike Earl and I taped earlier.
Good.
So we got content all day from 11 till like 5 o'clock.
It's like the UCSS network.
Yeah.
Today it is, yeah.
We're adding programs like crazy.
Yeah.
We got more coming. Stay tuned.
Yeah, speaking about more, Aditi.
What's up, Aditi?
Aditi, do you disagree with that? Like, if Joe Flacco balls out, it's his job, right?
Yeah, why wouldn't it be?
Yeah. No. I mean,
And I
it's
think that
slam
there's
dunk.
just, it's sort of like, it reminds me of in the preseason when I was watching Washington and it was Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett. And you could see that Sam Howell had this level of athleticism to him, deceivingly athletic, that he could do all these things, that he's young, whatever. But the huddle just calmed Jacoby Brissett. And the operation was just smoother with Jacoby Brissett. And I think that that's one of those things that you get with a Joe Flacco. He's seen every defense there is to see. He's been in every experience that there is. Like Robert Griffin said, he's a Super Bowl MVP. Nothing's going to scare him. Nothing's going to cow him. He knows how to talk to his teammates. All of that counts for something in a situation like this. And so, like, obviously DTR's upside at this point in life is greater than Joe Flacco's. Obviously, he's got a ton of talent, but when you've got a team that's playing such great defense that can indeed run the ball well, you need someone to operate there from a position of, I don't know, experience, not making mistakes, not causing errors, and I think that Joe Flacco is a really good bet right there. Yeah, sorry, I'm like, that's what we call in television a false out. I was like stopping to let you go, and then
No, it's all good. The calming effect that you talk of, Aditi, I think it's particularly important with this team because you have so many other pieces that are competent. When you look at the defense,
Right.
Joe Flacco has to be thrilled to know that he's playing with a defense like the one he has. And when now you put the leader of any team, I know there are other leaders, but to me, the leader of a football team is your quarterback. He sets the tone on offense. I know you can have a leader on defense too, but I just think that I think it's going to change everybody's perspective when they look into the huddle and say, oh, okay, now that's a grown-ass man with a real resume, with real accomplishments. Let's go get this.
Completely agree with you. And I said this last week, Jay, I don't think you were with us last week. I was recalling that week 2 game last year that I was on the sideline for when the Jets were down 2 touchdowns with less than 2 minutes to go. And I vividly remember Joe Flacco walking up and down his sideline, telling his teammates, we've still got time. We're not out of this. We still have time.
Wow.
And it was just that level-headedness. It was, again, it's the experience because he's done that before. He's led those game-winning drives. He's had these crazy comebacks. So he's speaking from a position of, okay, it is indeed possible, but also just to know you need to go talk to your teammates right now. You need to settle them. You need to remind them the game isn't over until the game is actually over, until the clock says 0-0-0. Yeah. So all of that counts for something. You're completely right.
Do you think you'll have a little boost? We just talked about it before you got on the DD. When it's something to be said for you being out of the game, your phone doesn't ring anymore, and you kind of imagine that that's it. I had a nice career, and this is it. And then you get that call, kind of like Kareem Hunt got, and he comes back and he's rejuvenated. Do you think there's a little piece of Joe Flacco that's like he's going to cherish this opportunity and really make it special for him because he didn't expect to be here?
100%. I mean, wouldn't you? Every chance that we get, it's an opportunity to do what you love. And he openly said the first time he talked to the Cleveland media, he said, I was surprised that the phone didn't ring. So there's a piece of pride there that he feels that he can still do it. I'm sure he's watching quarterback play around the league and thinking, hey, I can still do this. His kids are of an age where they can actually watch daddy do what daddy does. And so that is part of the motivation as well, to be able to have his children see what he's sacrificed for, what he's worked towards. And it's the opportunity to help a team. It's like you just said, this is a team that right now has all the pieces except for the quarterback. It's the number one defense. It's a game-changing, game-breaking defense. It's a great run game. You've got really talented wide receivers. You've got a tight end that, when he has a good day, when he isn't having one of those days that makes me blow up Adam's phone because I'm so frustrated, in general, is a great tight end. And so all you need, as I keep saying, is competent quarterback play. Joe probably thinks he could step in here and do something. Right. This could really be one of those moments. And so why not?
Aditi on the other side of the ball.
Bullish on him. I really like him. I'm sorry, Mikey, I'm cutting you off. But I am such a huge personal fan of Joe Flacco's. So you know how much I love DTR. You know that he's a young kid that I really want to see ball out and all of that. But right now, it's like Joe Flacco is clearly on the tail end of his career. I would love to see him succeed.
What a story it would be.
It would be. Aditi, on the other side of the ball, we have two of the best pass rushers, frankly, of all time in this game, between Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett. I'm going to ask you a completely hypothetical question here, but at the peak of each of their powers, so you got the peak Aaron Donald and you got peak Myles Garrett. If you were a NFL GM and had to build a defense around one of those two superstars, who would you choose to build your defense around?
Oh, come on. That's like asking me which child is my favorite child.
Which child's your favorite child? I'll ask you that too.
Yeah, depends on the day.
There you go.
It's too, ordinarily I would say that I'd pick Myles by virtue of the position that he plays, because I feel like in general that can be more impactful. But then you think about everything that AD has done and the human being that he is and how much he does in the community. Not that Myles doesn't, but Aaron Donald is one of the true gentlemen of the National Football League, and the way that he works. But again, I say that it's not that Myles doesn't work. It's not that Myles isn't as committed. It's not that. They're very similar in certain ways too. They're both sort of more quiet, receding personalities. I would actually say AD is more quiet than Myles. Myles has some of his quirks that he likes to have fun with: Halloween, the dinosaurs, anime. I can't. This is when people sit here and ask you to compare quarterbacks from different generations, or it's too hard. I'm sorry, I just can't do that.
Aditi,
is that a cop-out?
Even though
it's a little cop-out, but
I'd be curious to hear what G. Bush says. I think your answer is the right answer, when you started down the Aaron Donald road. And again, this is no disrespect to Myles Garrett. When he's done, he'll be one of the all-time greats. And the hope is, when he's done, he'll have a defensive MVP in his trophy case. And he'll also have a Lombardi trophy that he was a big contributor. When you look at Aaron Donald, he's checked those things. So, and he's further along in his career, and he's had more opportunity to do that.
I'm cutting you off, but AD saved that Super Bowl.
He won that Super Bowl.
He made the play that you need in that moment. And
we
so
talked about that yesterday. He made that play on 3rd and 4th down. And if he doesn't make either one of those plays, Joe Burrow completes the game-winning and Super Bowl-winning touchdown throw. And so, I mean, look, my hope and even expectation is Myles can get close to that. I think he can win a Defensive Player of the Year. I think that's what's so unfortunate about the timing of this injury. He's never been closer to that NFL Defensive MVP award. I think that's why he's going to play and play in pain, because he knows how close he is to getting the Browns to the playoffs and to getting his hands on that MVP trophy. And who knows what can happen if they get in the playoffs. But for right now, and again, no disrespect to Myles, Aaron's resume is just more accomplished. So for me,
it is, and
I would take him.
And at the end of the day, it's funny because just last night, this week I have the Chargers at Patriots, and last night I was on the phone with Khalil Mack, and Khalil Mack is one of those guys who's got a DPOY, who's got multiple All-Pros, who's closing in on sack accomplishments that have been attained by just 2 or 3 people, a handful of people. And we talked about whether he is on pace currently to potentially break that record, that TJ Watt, Michael Strahan sack mark for a season. And he said, you know what, at this point in my career, all I care about is a Super Bowl.
Winning.
And he said, you know, guys say that they are we guys, not me guys. I really am a we. I need that Super Bowl, and that's it. And you know what? This is what Mike Tomlin used to say to Antonio Brown, that at this point you've accomplished everything that you need to accomplish. It's about hunting the Lombardi trophy. And I think that in a team game, what really truly distinctly separates you is when you get that title. Why do Ben Roethlisberger never won an MVP. Eli Manning never won an MVP. Both of them have 2 Super Bowls. They'll be in the Hall of Fame because they both have 2 Super Bowls.
You're right.
And that's kind of the point. You know, like if you were to take Peyton Manning in a vacuum versus Tom Brady in a vacuum and choose the quarterback that you want leading your team, reading the defense, making the throws, doing all of those things, you probably might are going to be picked. That sentence made no sense. You probably maybe are going to pick Peyton Manning, except that this is a team game, and Tom Brady has won more than anybody else. So then isn't Tom Brady really the greatest of all time? Yeah. Because ultimately it's about winning those Super Bowls.
And there's layers to it.
Everybody around you to play better. Right. So, you know, I think that there is a piece of, and I've said this before many times, and it upsets Cleveland fans, I'm sorry, but there's something about TJ Watt that makes everybody around him play better. I don't know if it's by virtue of his personality that he demands it. I don't know if it's the way that his motor goes and how hard he works. People feel that they can't slack when he's working that way. I don't know what it is, but that to me is one of the big pieces of him that make him exceptional, that make him stand apart. And I've said this before, you know, we've been wanting to see that from Miles. I think we're really seeing it now. I think that that's been part of his growth and his progression. But AD is one of those guys that he makes everybody around him better. There's no question about that.
I said this to Jay about maybe 2 days ago. We were off camera, and I said, you know what? Browns got to make the playoffs this year.
Yes,
and
sir.
we looked around, and he was like, why you say that? And I was like, well, if they don't make the playoffs, you're going to have a whole year of more Deshaun Watson talk. You're going to have a whole other year. You don't know what Chubb is doing. You really don't have you have question marks, again, about what is the offense? Are we running the right offense? And if you make the playoffs this year, I think it kills all of that. I think it leaves a better taste in your mouth to say, okay, well, let's go figure this out next year. But if you don't make the playoffs, we are kind of exactly where we were 365 days ago with the same questions.
Yeah, and at some point those excuses wear thin. You know, and it's sort of one of those, it's funny because we're having this conversation, my crew and I, this week about the Chargers because Brandon Staley, Ohio native, as you know, Cleveland native, he's under immense fire. And you could sit here and say, okay, yeah, but Bosa keeps getting hurt and Mike Williams is hurt and this hasn't worked out and this and this. At some point, the excuses they're just excuses. You know, everybody deals with injury. Everybody deals with unexpected things. At some point, you just have to put it together. And right now, this Browns roster, yes, it's a huge blow to lose your starting quarterback. And obviously, everybody knows how much of a fan of Kevin Stefanski's I am and how level he is and how he imbues his players with confidence despite all of this and how he's kept this ship afloat amidst all this craziness. But, I mean, how many years in a row do you get a mulligan? You know, how many years in a row do you get, yeah, but? Right. So year 2, there was, yeah, but Baker was hurt all year and there was the Odell drama. Year 3 was the, yeah, but there was the crazy Deshaun Jacoby thing. Now this year we could say, yeah, but you lost your all-pro right tackle week 1. You lost your best offensive player week 2. You lost your quarterback. At some point, you can't keep doing the yeah, but. This is football. This is life. Like, you got to figure it out.
Next man up. Go figure out
it's
how
very
to
fair
win.
to expect that. And also, remember, Jay, just really quickly, the AFC is not like the Bengals lost their quarterback. The AFC is open. You know, look at what's happened to the Bills. The Chiefs have looked vulnerable at times.
Right.
The AFC, there's room to make a run here. There's room to make the playoffs here.
Yeah, for all that talk of all the great quarterbacks being in the AFC, the iron's hot. And you've got the defense, and the time to strike is now. We talked a lot this week about the run-pass distribution in Denver. I we all thought that it was way off. There were varying degrees of it. G. Bush and I came in here like completely flummoxed as to how you ask a rookie quarterback and P.J. Walker to combine for 42 throws when you're only handing it off 16 times. And I know there were some circumstances in the game that dictated that. But it was a 5-point game in the fourth quarter. It's not like they were chasing, double-digit points the whole game. What was your take on the distribution of the run and pass?
I mean, I didn't like it. I'm with you on that, right? I'd much rather, I remember Le'Veon Bell once saying to me, balance is not about being equal in each game. Being a balanced offense means when you need to run, you run. When you need to pass, you pass. So it's not like I need a 50-50 split in run and pass. But when you need to run is when you have a rookie quarterback and when you have a backup quarterback and when you're in the game. That is when you need to run. The only thing I can say is I haven't asked anyone, so I don't know if a lot of that were checks or a lot of that was changed and not necessarily what the original call was, or if they were seeing something in the defense that made them go that way, made the quarterback make a change that way. I don't know. I also don't know how much freedom they have. Go ahead.
Leroy thought that was the case. He said that Denver was coming with false 8-9 guys in the box and then backing them out. And it was Leroy's impression that when they would flood the line of scrimmage in their pre-snap read, that DTR would check into the pass play because he felt that the run wasn't going to work.
Right.
And Leroy said it was driving him nuts because at some point, somebody else in the chain, whether it was Stefanski or Alex Van Pelt or somebody, needed to tell him, this is a false look they're giving you, and they're getting you to check into passes, which is what they want you to do. But that never happened, and that was somewhat surprising to me.
And you know what? And I think that a lot of that is nervousness too, right? That maybe that was said on the sideline. Maybe AVP did say to DTR, hey, they're just trying to bait you. Like, be confident in what we're doing. But remember, you're a young guy. You don't have a lot of reps behind you. You don't have a lot of experience. You don't want to make a mistake. And so sometimes you forget that voice there. But another thing is, it would be good to have teammates sit here and help you in that sense. And I'm reminded of a Sunday night game, the Eagles. I remember Jalen Hurts kind of made a check at the line. And if you were paying attention, Jason Kelce, who's the best, you know what I'm talking about?
I know
Kelce
exactly
waved him off, waved him off. And then Jalen kind of went okay, rewind, go back to what we were supposed to do. That was Kelce's experience, saying, don't get cute here. Stick with what we have. Don't worry about it. And while the Browns do have a seasoned line, they don't necessarily have that center that's a Jason Kelce or a Marquise Pouncey or a guy that's done it at a high level for 10 years.
Good point.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And I made a mental note of that, too, about how it doesn't always have to fall on the quarterback. I saw a game on Sunday where a running back came up to a young quarterback and said something in his ear, and whatever play they checked into, it was actually a run to the running back who took it for 15 yards. And I thought those are the little things that teammates can do that are veterans that can help these rookie quarterbacks along. And
exactly.
I wish we were seeing more of that with the Browns, but we really haven't.
Aditi, can a receiver do that? Because if anyone was going to do it, it'd have to be Amari Cooper, I'd assume, right? He's the only one.
Yeah, but Amari's not seeing the whole defense.
That's what I'm saying. So it's a tough configuration for how the Browns' offense is laid out now. You don't have Nick Chubb, you have Jerome Ford, who's a little more seasoned, but barely than DTR. That's why I think Joe Flacco coming into play, in theory, can solve a lot of issues just by his pure knowledge and 18 years experience.
He's going to see that stuff.
Right. Guys, I hate to do this, but someone's in my house and they keep screaming for me, so I'm a little bit concerned.
Now we're concerned. So text us to make sure that you're okay. Because if you're not, we'll call the authorities and we'll get them there.
I mean, we could take a pause and I could say, is everything all right? But my phone is blowing up. Apparently, there's a fake Instagram account about me now.
Oh, wonderful. All right.
You got bigger
Yeah.
fish to fry, Aditi.
You go take care of that. Thank you for spending time
Okay,
with
if
us.
a fake Aditi Instagram tries to follow you, report it or something. It's
I
not
will.
me.
I'm going to report it
Okay.
anyhow, even if they don't.
Thanks,
Aditi, have a
Aditi.
good call on Sunday.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Thanks so much.
And we got to check in with her in about 3 minutes to make sure that everything is okay, because we don't want a stranger coming into her house and she wouldn't be able to tell anybody about it.
No, if we don't hear from Aditi, we'll call
Hey,
her
man,
back.
that'd be funny when somebody do knock on your door though. Like they be like knocking, and you don't be expecting nobody. I'd be like on some Inspector Gadget stuff. Like, who is this? I don't owe nobody.
Particularly if they're in your house and they're calling for you.
Yeah, like I don't owe you no
Like,
money, no soliciting.
The water man doesn't need to knock on your door and come
Right.
into your house.
Nah, like there's
So-
no milkman. I don't like
No.
unexpected knocks like that.
I don't either. The hope is it's someone that she knows and that
Yeah.
everything is
Right.
going to be okay. I think of everything that Aditi said, the one thing that that really resonates with me is the fact that, and you followed it with the Joe Flacco won't need that, was that like, there's a lot of times when DTR probably comes to the line and he's looking at something and he doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
And when that headset mic goes dead, you're out there on an island. It can be a Joel Bitonio who turns around and has a buzzword, and maybe that buzzword is to check down to the second play or to hold on to the first one or whatever. But it takes a team and those veteran eyeballs that can look at something and know that is a false flag. They are not bringing 8 guys. They're bringing 4, and 4 of them are going to drop out. Joe Flacco is going to catch a lot of that.
And it has a lot to do with just recognizing film work. Like, even when we go, go back to high school, we used to play St. Ignatius, and the first few years we played them, they just were better. They just never made any mistakes. They just executed better than we did. But after a while, just being inner city kids, like we understood what we had to do to switch our game up. We was like, we gotta study this stuff. Like you can't just come out there and just beat Chuck Kyle team and just feel like you're gonna win that. And I kind of feel like this the way with Glenville now. Once you get there and you win it once, you start to get it with a different attitude. Like when you get down in the huddle, it don't matter if you're down 5, 10 points. It's just like, all right, we got it. It's a different type of swag that you get because you have that bank to your memory. Like, I've done this before. But the first time you come to the line of scrimmage, I used to be looking around. We used to have our linebacker. He was like a Rhodes Scholar. We had Kent State. His name was Steve Smith. Shout out to Steve Smith, by the way. And he used to play center. And he played center at Kent State. And I used to come up to the line, and I used to ask him, like, every play, I'm like, who I got?
Well, that's what Jason said DeJuan Jones was doing with Wyatt Teller earlier this season.
So think about that. Like, it's a difference between you coming in the line and all 5 guys know what you're doing. All 5 of them. And your receivers know what you're doing. And the quarterback knows and sees and understands.
Well, for much of the year, the Browns quarterback has been the youngest player in the huddle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Starting Sunday, and if it goes well moving forward, the oldest player in the huddle will be your quarterback. And there is value in that experience. I really think there is. So
It just is.
whether or not he physically can perform the job and all the duties that go with it like he once could, we don't need him to be 2013 Joe Flacco. We don't. This offense can be effective handing the ball off and converting third downs. When you need it, when you have a third down throw, completing those third downs. I want to see him throw the ball 15 to 20 times, no more.
You want the Tebow playbook.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that because with this defense, the trestle ball formula will work.
And Stefanski understand. It's almost a glorified. When the Browns was rolling, go back to 2020. When the Browns was rolling and they had Kareem Hunt, you had Nick Chubb, and you had Dearness Johnson, right? I remember the game I watched them, and it was peak. It was peak to me, Stefanski. The game they played against the Dallas Cowboys, they ran the ball, and it looked like they were unstoppable.
Right.
Like they couldn't. The play action would hit right after that. They were getting 9, 10 a pop, and the great thing about Stefanski is I don't really know if he has a playbook. We laugh at him all the time because we thought we was getting a new one. But the one thing you can say for him, he's called plays for a whole gambit of quarterbacks, whether it's Brissett or Josh Dobbs or
now P.J. Walker, DTR, Deshaun Watson.
I just thought of this, and I hadn't thought of this until you just said that, G. We talk about quarterbacks getting in rhythm, like, hey, we need Deshaun to play a couple games so he shakes off the rust. Well, from a play caller standpoint, too, Stefanski can't even get in a rhythm with what's working when he's had the rotating circle of quarterbacks, of running backs,
That's good.
even receivers to an extent. I mean, you thought you had Elijah Moore who was going to produce more than he has so far. DPJ went
was the
MIA.
team's number 2. He's gone.
He's gone. I mean, Cedric Tillman's come up, so Stefanski deserves a fair level of criticism. But maybe he also deserves a little bit more of a leash than we give him because just like his players haven't been able to get any consistency, even in practice, he's been going with a constant wave of change as well.
I'll go a step further.
That's an underrated comment right there.
I was watching the NFL Network yesterday, and the guy. It's funny. Sometimes you get there's great value in getting someone's description from 30,000 feet. Mm-hmm. We're in the clouds, man. We're in the weeds, and everything is magnified for us, particularly in the moment. Mm-hmm. They were singing Stefanski's praises yesterday. Because when you list, and I know Aditi said after a while, excuses wear thin. I 100% agree with her. But show me another team that's on quarterback number 4, lost its best player on offense. It's
2 tackles.
It's 2 tackles, all of the injuries that this team has incurred, and they are in control of their playoff destiny. And right now they're in the number 2 wild card slot in the AFC.
And there is a line.
He'll get votes for Coach of the Year. He won't win it. But if they make the playoffs, Kevin Stefanski's going to receive votes.
And there is a line. Like, every team has depth. We all want more depth. But there's at some point you hit a line of, all right, we're on our 4th quarterback. Like, what's the realistic expectation? And the fact that we're on Joe Flacco. Think about this. We're on Joe Flacco, who was in this chair essentially 2 weeks ago, saying we think the Browns might be able to win a game this Sunday. And they might be able to go 3-3 the last, or 4-3 the last 7 games, or 3-3 because they have 6 now. That legitimately is a testament to what Stefanski has done, putting this team together. It's Andrew Berry. They have depth, but no one plans for a 4th quarterback. Like there are unforeseen circumstances.
It's almost like you're building the ship as you're sailing the ocean.
It's patchwork as you're going.
You're just trying to keep the thing afloat. Yeah. You're doing what you can to plug the holes, keep the thing above the water level, and to this point, I think he's done a great job. He's got to finish the job.
He's got to finish, and that is a big caveat.
Because just as easily as they could win 11, they could lose 11 from here.
Yeah.
They could end up going, they could lose 10. They could end up going 7-10. Like, it would be a nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
If you even juxtapose, like, think about it. Ask Bull. Bengals are done.
They are.
Like, think about it.
They suffered one major blow. Now, granted, it was a franchise-level quarterback.
But the Browns lost Watson, too.
But there's layers to that.
But I'm just saying, they both lost a franchise quarterback in their lives.
And here's how devastating it is. If we just still had Nick Chubb, I would be up here cocky. I would still be up here arrogant. Like, oh, you can't stop. We still got Nick Chubb. What are you talking about?
When you have a Nick Chubb and this defense,
you have a chance.
You can make a run.
You have a chance. That's all.
Period. That's the formula. That's it. You need a quarterback that's not going to gift games away, but just take care of the football, hand it to Nick Chubb, and play defense.
Think about it. The equivalent of what we have now is if the Bengals lost Burrow and Chase.
Burrow, Chase, they're 2 tackles.
Throw in another name.
Maybe Trey Hendrickson's banged up.
Yeah.
Like, it goes on and on.
And, yeah.
And we talked about the schedule. And I know, Ant, we're going to do the schedule in 1 sec, so you get to read them. But the schedule, the end of it, we thought was super easy, may not be necessarily as easy anymore.
No.
So, Ant, you want to read them? We'll get to that?
It may be very, very difficult to close out.
Yeah, guys, I just want to remind everybody that as the weather is getting colder out there, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's absolutely no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. It has a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So you guys can go visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. So, Mike, I'm going to actually let you set this topic up because this was yours from yesterday that you guys couldn't get all the way through.
Yeah, so we'll start with the Bengals again, but essentially we did before the season. You look at the schedule, you have the Bengals in week 1 and 18. That's good or bad. Well, now we have a little bit of information to back up whether or not the schedule gods played out in the Browns' favor or if the Browns kind of got screwed by the schedule. So we'll run through each team We'll see when they play the Browns home and away and see if the Browns
Well,
caught
1 and
each
18,
team.
the schedule gods winked at us.
It was beautiful. Cincinnati
Yeah.
could not have worked out any better for the
No,
Browns.
I mean, when the schedule came out, we're like, oh my God,
It's
you
terrible.
got to start and close against the AFC, one of the AFC favorites.
Yeah.
But the way it played out, we got Burrow hurt, and Burrow's out now for 18. So I think those are two
That was
big
perfect.
thumbs up.
A+.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
couldn't have done any better. Next up is Pittsburgh, Week 2, and at Pittsburgh, Week 11. What do you guys think about this one?
Man, at the time when you lose Nick Chubb, I thought it was horrible. But I like it now because, yes, you did lose to them in the second week, but the way it started to shake out, you already have the AFC North, or the hay is in the barn, pretty much. Like, you've already played all your AFC North teams, and they found a way to get the split. I thought it worked out pretty well. I don't want to play them the last game of the season.
Yeah.
All right, we would get them out of the way and just mess with the other teams.
For me, I don't think it's my
I was neutral on
outlook.
this one.
I was neutral too.
Yeah.
I didn't love that we started Cincinnati-Pittsburgh because that can go sideways really quickly. You go 0-2 in your division to start the season. Like, I know the NFL tried to stick the screws to the Browns with that, and the Browns weren't having it. It would have been so much better had they not had that strip sack fumble at the end that led to the Steelers win. Because if you, on the flip side, if you start 2-0,
Woo,
you
cooking.
got runway to an AFC North
Cooking.
title. So I was unchanged by the way the events
yeah.
of the season played out.
I was neutral because, A, they got 2 Matt Canada games, so
Right.
good.
Yep.
But, B,
Yep.
it was Deshaun Watson's second game, still coming back, still rusty, so he hadn't had his full armor. So I went neutral. I didn't think that was
Yeah, I went neutral.
big
as
enough.
well.
The Ravens, we'll go third. The Ravens, they were home against the Ravens in Week 3, at Baltimore in Week 10. I actually think this was this is Week 4, actually, not Week 3. But a terrible situation for playing Baltimore. A, you played them without Deshaun Watson in the first game. It was after the injury. And Week 10, even though they beat Baltimore, Baltimore just walloped Detroit, had just walloped Seattle. They went into that game riding high. That's not when you wanted to play Baltimore. It didn't end up mattering, but I thought the Browns actually got a bad stick with the Ravens, considering it was post-Deshaun Watson and DTR making his first start, and then against the Baltimore team in Baltimore, who was the hottest team in football at the time.
But did we get the Ravens the first time after the loss to the Colts?
No, you got – the Colts game was after that. The Colts was after San Francisco.
Okay,
So Deshaun plays Tennessee.
No. I'm talking about after
Yeah,
the Colts beat the Ravens.
Yes, we got them afterwards.
Yes.
So
yes.
for me, I thought, wow, this team isn't as good as I thought they were. Because at that time, we didn't know that the Colts were going to be at 6 wins at this point in the season
Right.
and in position for a playoff spot. So I think I felt a little better about the Ravens game in real time the first time. Second time, neutral. I mean, I knew they were going to be a very good team.
They were hot.
They were hot. It was at their place. I didn't expect that they would, be able to go there and get a win. So I was pretty neutral on the second one. But the first one, I thought schedule gods helped us out, with the timing of everything coming off the Colts loss.
I'd have been, for me, I would have been, interesting to see if Deshaun Watson played that first game and he wasn't hurt.
He was coming off his best game against
He
Tennessee.
was coming off his
was.
best game against Tennessee. You get the Ravens at home. The defense looked like they were playing lights out. And it was kind of almost like the DTR thing was just like, boom, DTR is playing. We're like, whoa, what's going on?
You're right. Yeah, for that reason, the schedule gods
Yeah.
took a dump on the Browns for that.
It just, and then
tough.
we came
And the way the week unfolded, we thought he was
Yeah.
going to play. We thought he was going to play.
That was the worst week
And then
of my
all
life.
of a sudden at 10:30, oh no, he's not playing. DTR, get your cape on.
And so here's the thing. You get that happens. DTR plays the game, and then you follow right back up the next week against a 5-0 team in the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the schedule guys hate
Tough.
us. We're in trouble.
Yeah.
We'll get
No,
to San
that's-
Francisco in a
that's-
sec, but Week 3 first was Tennessee. Neutral, good, bad. I was neutral on this one.
Yeah, I don't know why
Tennessee.
we had week 3 Baltimore.
Yeah, it was a
That was
Classic Ant typo.
Cantaspelli,
Okay,
Cantanumbry or whatever.
I don't think there was much.
I was neutral. It didn't
Yeah, I
really
was
matter.
neutral on that because
Yeah.
again, it's so early in the season. Like unless, like in the Cincinnati case where you lose Burrow.
Yeah.
I was neutral on that.
We'll
I
go
didn't
quickly to
change.
San Francisco then.
Yeah.
And I had bad for San Francisco was the hottest team in football, 5-0. You did not want to play them when the Browns did, and they still beat that ass. So shout out to PJ Walker.
I didn't think there was any chance they were going to beat the Niners. G. Bush was the only one on the panel that picked the Browns to win.
I thought
that
he was joking too.
Listen,
that was part Kool-Aid, but he got it
part
right.
Kool-Aid, but the way I saw him play against the Bengals, it was one of them fight or flight things. Like, I'm like, if you lose to them and get blown up out of here, I mean, we could be talking about 4 and something. But the defense came up, they did what they needed to do, and I think it was one of those points where there's always like 7 or 8, 9, 10 points where at a season where you can give up. And I thought the Browns could have gave up because Nick Chubb was out. I thought they could have gave up after Deshaun Watson was out and DTR got beat up, but they didn't. So I thought it was the scheduled guys were nasty to him, but I thought they showed some resiliency. So.
What's funny, I think that's true. I thought the schedule gods, got him on that one too. But in retrospect, now that we have the benefit of the results, the 2 following weeks, we got the Niners, and maybe we put them in that.
See, I think they put them in that tailspin.
But they lost 3 in a row after that, and everybody suddenly was looking at this team, which was once the NFC favorite, saying, "Wait a minute, who are they?"
And that was such a physical game. Trent Williams got hurt. Debo got hurt. McCaffrey was banged up. If you were playing this from another team's standpoint, the Vikings hit the schedule jackpot against San Francisco, playing them after the Browns, and whoever else they played, they lost another game too. Cincinnati. Yeah. Cincinnati actually got lucky in this scenario.
In San Francisco.
They got very lucky.
And I think, when you look at the 49ers, I had never saw a side of them. Like, when they was out here pushing and arguing and fighting before the game, it was almost like they got themselves out of their mojo. I'm like, usually the 49ers just come in here, block you, tackle you,
do their
go
business
home.
and go.
Yeah. So I think that catapulted the Browns to play a little harder. But I think that put them in a tailspin because after that, Trent Williams hurt, Debo Samuel's hurt, McCaffrey came out of the game banged up, and Brock Purdy finally looked like he was a guy
He made a mistake.
He made mistakes that game.
We hadn't seen him make a mistake until the Browns game.
It was essentially perfect. Next up, Indy. Good, bad, neutral.
I thought it was good because I thought Gardner Minshew was in there, and that ended up not being so easy.
Yeah.
I think we came in feeling real good about it. But that was the Deshaun Watson 5 plays, and he's out, and then Gardner Minshew's running read option down the field. And we're like, there's one of these trap games where like when
they pulled that rabbit out of a hat.
Well, I actually went with kind of bad because it was a new coach and a new quarterback that had no tape. Yeah. So I put kind of bad, like barely bad, more neutral than anything, but they pulled out some. They pulled out.
They knew what Gardner Minshew's game was.
But there was no the read option wrinkle came out of nowhere with Gardner Minshew.
We did not expect.
Did not have that coming at all.
And they got Taylor back.
Taylor back was that game.
I think he came back the week before.
The week before, but it was first game in real.
But him and Moss both ran. I don't. Matter of fact, we should have lost that game.
Yeah,
I don't even know how we won that.
We should have.
For 3.5 quarters, I thought it was a straight L.
Yeah,
I really did.
It's a tough game.
I thought that was an L.
Next up, Seattle.
I don't think there were any extenuating injury circumstances for that one.
I picked them to lose that game.
I was neutral. I thought
I just coming off of Indianapolis, they kind of like played to a point where they could have lost that game. You go to Seattle, they play well. They'll never play well in Seattle. The crowd, you got to go to the West Coast, and surprisingly, they kept the game close, but. That game was kind of out of here when they gave up to 14 or 17 points in it. I think it was the
first quarter.
They were down 14-0 before the seats were warm.
Yeah, with PJ Walker.
That was the game that I'll circle that one for. I think Stefanski's play calling for the last game was the worst as a game, but the worst play call he's made this year, in my mind, was the decision to have
PJ Walker
a PJ Walker quarterback. Throwing the ball in a situation where you easily could have run it, kept the ball going. I think that was one that we're going to look back on. If one win keeps us out, for me, the Pittsburgh one was a gut wrencher, but so was Seattle.
Am I correct? They had the lead, right?
Yeah.
Did the Browns
they came back after trailing 14-0. I think they did take a 17-14.
They were up 20-17 and the interception. And
that's why it was hot.
And then they gave up they gave up the early points, and then the defense started
the
pitching
last
the
minute
shutout.
was phenomenal.
And then that last drive was
devastating.
We'll go to this next one really quick. Arizona, no Kyler. They played Clayton.
We got them at a great time.
That was perfect.
Very good time.
Couldn't do any better. Denver next. And I think Denver hit him at the worst time possible.
Yes.
4-game win streak. He wanted to play Denver early when they were giving up 70 points.
That's right.
Or 35 points. In the last 4 weeks, the defense has only given up 19. I don't think you'd hit them at a much worse time than right now.
It's one of only 2 games that the Browns really weren't in.
Yeah.
And
they were in it till the fourth quarter. Like even though
they
you said
were.
they
I
weren't
mean, the final score is deceiving, obviously,
Yeah.
with the late garbage scores. But
You be feeling it.
I would have much rather played them when Sean Payton was
Trying to
wondering
figure
if
stuff
he
out.
lost his
Yeah.
fastball, and so was Russ.
Yeah.
They both now kind of have re-found their mojo, and so we probably got them at the worst possible time.
The next 5 where it gets interesting, because these are the 5 we haven't played yet.
Right.
So now this is kind of the guess.
I feel worse about this now than I did when the season started. I thought this was a win when the season started.
Is Angela spelt right? That looks.
Yeah, that's right.
That is?
Yeah.
Seeing all caps throws me off sometimes.
Are you McNugget Cantaspelli?
I just questioned. I didn't spell
Yeah.
anything wrong.
No,
I just
that's
questioned.
right.
Good job,
on
Ant.
that one.
Ant, good job, brother.
Good job, Ant.
Victory laps.
When the schedule came out, I'm like, oh, that's a win. That's a winnable game.
And now it's not as easy.
No. Williams has become a superstar. Nacua has become a superstar. They've got a winning record. They have their playoff fate in their own
I think
hands.
they're 5 and 6 technically.
Are they 5 and 6? I
they're
thought they
5
were
and
6 and
6.
5.
I think they're 5. I could be wrong. I think they're
Yeah.
6.
Stafford.
But still,
Stafford's
Stafford's
back.
healthy, which is
Well, to the point of the reporter who came on with us yesterday, their playoff fate's in their own hands.
if
They
they
keep
win,
winning, they're
yeah.
going.
And
And I just thought that this was going to be a game. I'm not afraid of the LA road crowd.
Doesn't exist.
And I'm still not afraid of it. But I just think that the Rams, to me, have proven to be a better team than I thought they were going to be.
They're frisky.
It's almost like I can see it in my head, them scoring points or, catching touchdown passes, and the game looks like it's a little fast. The Browns have to play at a certain pace this game.
Yeah.
And to be truthful, if I'm looking at this game, this might be this is the game that really, really actually matters. Because there's no way you're not making the playoffs if you're 8-4. You'll find a way. You got the Bears
If
still.
they win, their chances of making the playoffs go up to 81%. If
thought
they
they were-
lose, they go down below 60%.
And just now and then what it does is put emphasis on these 2 games. Now you got to really split and get one of the Jacksonville games
Or Houston.
You do.
And those games look like they were like, I got Jacksonville at home. They've been playing well, and Houston is the anomaly. Houston, like they play like a veteran team with a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback and a rookie defensive end. It's different.
Yeah.
And it's at Houston, which
in
I don't
Houston,
like.
yeah.
How is it at Houston 2 years in a row?
So I know, I don't understand that either. So Jacksonville, to me, is neutral.
I had Jacksonville
I
as
knew
neutral,
that was
too.
going to be a battle. Obviously, because we're on quarterback number 4, it's more difficult now than I thought it was going to be. I thought we'd have Deshaun Watson. So I wouldn't be neutral on this. I would say this one is harder to me than it was when the schedule came out. And Houston is a slam dunk. Houston is much harder
Way
than I
harder.
thought it was.
Significantly
I thought
harder.
Houston would be a 3 or 4 win team.
You wanted Houston early in the season before C.J. Stroud became that dude. And right now, C.J. Stroud's playing as well as anyone. And to G's point, real quick on L.A., Jason said it wasn't a must-win on Monday. He's like, it would help.
Technically, it's not.
But if you lose that game, if you lose to L.A., you have such an onus and a razor-thin margin of error the rest of the way.
You do.
Like razor-thin. And
Yeah.
if anyone feels comfortable and being honest with themselves, if they feel comfortable operating on a razor-thin margin of error with Joe Flacco, DTR, PJ Walker, you should go get yourself checked out.
Listen,
that's an issue.
They were operating on that razor-thin margin against San Francisco.
And it worked.
They were operating
Yeah.
on that razor-thin margin against Indianapolis. Look, in the moment, every game feels like a must-win. That's the beauty of the NFL.
16
Every
games,
game
17
takes on
games.
such
Yeah.
an added importance, particularly in December and particularly when you're in a playoff race. Is it a must-win? The answer to that is technically no. There is a clear path to the playoffs without winning.
It's just
But
so much harder.
you make your degree of difficulty getting
So
there
much harder.
much, much higher.
And the Browns, like I don't know about y'all, but man, I'll be watching these games and I'm like, there has not been. We've had one game where it's like, okay, we had the Cardinals game.
Every
Like,
game's been close down to the wire.
Every other game,
It's 52 hours of Stressville.
it's
Yeah.
stressful.
When you watch the Cleveland Browns for a season.
My wife won't watch it though, but she says I can't do it though. I love it, but I want to look, but I don't want to, but it's too nerve wracking. And I'm like, I'm with you, like, cause look, even Aaron Rodgers is practicing now. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
he ain't gonna play.
Well,
Stop.
that's
He's not
why I
gonna
was
play.
going to say the Jets game probably is
They got
looks
lucky
a little
with the
more
Jets.
difficult. No one's
No.
ruled them out. No one's ruled
He
them
said
out.
he's not going to play if they're not in playoff contention.
Well, they're not. They're not
So I think-
presently. So why
I
are you
think at the
practicing?
end-
Yeah, why?
And I listened to Salah's
crazy.
news conference yesterday.
Yeah.
And every comment he made was prefacing he's not playing. He's doing the same stuff he would be doing if he wasn't on our active roster. Things worked out for them with maneuverability on the roster that they could activate him
he's
and
not
open
playing.
that 21-day window.
Don't lie to yourself.
It would be the most egotistical, single individual thing to do
100%.
if he comes back and plays. It would only to be so he could pound his chest and say, I did what everyone said I couldn't. You're not going to carry your team to a playoff win. Stay in mothballs. Saleh said he has every expectation that he's going to be with the Jets next season. Do it next year.
If he plays, he's going to get hurt and miss all next year.
And their line's trash anyhow. Why would you put him out there?
Hey, listen, I'll be looking at it like this. Sometimes people be needing to save their job. And, I like Saleh, you're a defensive guy. There's doctors, right? I saw this doctor who does, kind of tells about the injuries. And he goes, well, listen, they got this new procedure on the Achilles. Usually they just snip it and sew it up. But now they got it where they reinforced it, sew it up, and plant it and staple it down to your heel. Like, he's moving well. Like, it wouldn't be over the top to think that he could play. And Aaron Rodgers is over the top. He's the non-vax guy. He's sleep in a dark room. And by the way, it would be a hell of a story.
It would.
It would be.
And that's why I think his ego might get in the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch him
play.
I watch him with his Tuesday appearance
Pat
on
McAfee,
Pat McAfee, and he loves this. He is
It's because he
relishing
likes to be the center
in
of
all
attention.
this. He does, and he loves to say things that people will be like, "What did he just say?"
Yeah, and he drives
And
me
so
nuts.
he's sitting there, he's talking very low,
I can't stand him. I'm sorry.
and he just rubs me the wrong way too.
I can't stand him.
He's
He held the whole Jets season sabotage with this whole, I'm going to come back. You guys can't go actually get a better quarterback because I'm going to come back. Don't waste an asset. I'm coming back. He's going to say he wants to practice. He's going to be eliminated from the playoffs. He's not going to play. They're going to lose. He's going to bring all his friends back in. Alan Lazard's not even he's a healthy scratch now. So they bring all these dudes in for Aaron Rodgers and get out of here,
it was
bro. Get out of here.
it was an all-in move.
I can't stand it.
Similar in some ways to what the Browns did. The Browns obviously had a much younger quarterback who they felt could take them to a Super Bowl, and they were going to get him for 5 years. With the Jets, they were in quarterback purgatory just as long as the Browns were. They didn't have an answer at that position. Nope. They made a bold move, and they went all in, and it blew up in their face.
First play, I remember watching first play. That's crazy.
It was nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
Why is he? It's kind of funny. It's not quarterback injury thing, but these quarterbacks are getting injured, and you can't touch a quarterback now. These guys are getting injured more. Think about the amount of quarterbacks that are just out.
50.
Just not there.
Well, they were tougher in the day because they took a beating.
Right.
Like, there were no rules protecting the quarterbacks. Turkey Joe Jones was dropping Terry Bradshaw on his head. There's an evolution process that goes on to a player where he's like, look, I got to build up a layer of protection. They were tougher.
I mean,
now they're like glass dolls.
And if you said something with Aditi, this reminds me of the NBA season last year. How the heck did the Miami Heat make it to the finals? I don't know. I don't know how at all. But it just reminds me of that. If you look at that's why I keep just saying, like, the Browns got to make the playoffs. Just get there, man. Because the Herberts of the world, it looks like the Bills look like they want to try to make the playoffs.
They might be the best team, and they might be left out.
Out. If you don't got to see Herbert, you don't got to see Burrow, you don't got to see
Josh Allen.
This is the year to be in the playoffs.
This
is the year. We went over the whole, remember, before the season, the quarterback rankings. And take wherever Deshaun fit it was 9 of the top 10 were in the AFC. Right? It was Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
And then the other 9 were AFC.
And
they're all hurt.
Nuggets, to that point, if we're going to play the micro game on the schedule, let's now look at the landscape and play it on a macro schedule. So do we feel better? Are the football gods shining on the Browns now? Well, on one hand, we're decimated with injuries. But on the other hand, you've eliminated 3 of the top 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Are likely not a threat right now. Josh Allen is still lurking on the fringe, but Joe Burrow's in mothballs. They're not a threat.
Nope.
Even Kansas City. I know Kansas City is in the driver's seat, But Kansas City doesn't scare me like they have in years past.
I used to be petrified. It was like one of them things where, you know, when you were younger and your dad used to come down the stairs and say, let me talk to you. He's much bigger than you. You're like, dang. It had a little more gravity to it, right?
When he says that now, you got it.
You like, what do you want, Dad?
What are you going to do?
You want some cologne or something, man? Let's take you out and get some food. Let's hang out, watch the game, eat some wings.
But I'm still terrified of Mahomes. I'm totally honest.
I'm not.
I'm terrified.
The reason I'm not scared of them is because they have to work. I'm seeing them have to work to get down the field. Like it's third and longs. Mahomes got it. Before, you got to think about it. When they had Kelce and Tyreek Hill.
It felt different.
It was damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Because they had one guy that could run by you.
It was pick your poison.
It was pick. And they was throwing the ball to Kelce over the middle, and it was a problem. It was just.
I've never seen
they're different,
more this season. I've seen Patrick Mahomes looking at the surface
that
with a quizzical
MacBook Pro.
look like I don't have an answer. And in the past, they'd show him on the sidelines. They could be down a score, and he's chumming it up. I got this. No. And you knew that they did. Because whenever they had to have a score, they got one.
They were down 14-0 and ended up going on a 31-3
No,
run
listen,
to
I know they can.
The Vegas Raiders.
But there's also been moments, stretches that have gone games.
He's looked more pedestrian this year than we've seen in the last couple of years. But I'm still terrified. It's like when your girlfriend or your wife says, we got to talk. And it could be like, hey, did you take the trash? It could be absolutely nothing. But when you get that text, hey, we got to talk, you immediately go to worst case scenario. That's what I feel about Patrick Mahomes. Like, Patrick Mahomes is worst case scenario. But sometimes, Gabby, sometimes I guess she says we got to talk. But it goes either from that or to, hey, did you pick up whatever? Like, that's the Patrick Mahomes level for me.
Ain't it funny, though? Ain't it funny if you, in the years of your relationship, if Jay's wife says, hey, we need to talk, it's different from yours. Like
I don't think she's ever done that.
Right. Like
she's never said we got to talk?
No. I can't.
She knows I'm not a talker.
You're not a talker.
Not in that stuff. Not in relationships.
You never shut up, Jay.
Nope, not in relationships.
Nope. Like, if we need to talk, like, sometimes I'm like, look, you're forbidden to say that. Like, I don't do fake. Like, there's two things.
Wait, they're forbidden to say that? We got to talk?
Yeah, no, you need to say what you need to talk about.
Lead with it.
Lead with that.
And that's what I am, too. I'm like, don't play games. Don't beat around the bush. Hit me with the lead story.
Let me know. I got health issues. I take a lot of medication, and I'm putting it on that. You got to tell me exactly what's going on.
Cut to the chase.
Yeah, and I don't do fake breakups either. Like, there's if you say
there's no fake breakups.
You can't say that.
Says the man that broke off his wedding engagement and then went through with it anyhow.
Well, you're right.
That's the all-time fake deke relationship move of ever.
Coming from the man who says he divorced his ex-wife because he didn't like her tone of voice.
Yeah, I was like, your tone's crazy right now.
I remember that.
Mike Polk wrote it. Mike Polk made a whole joke out of that.
Yeah,
I don't know if he gave you credit or not.
Like you did, man. Listen. Tone is everything.
But now you learn you don't do the fake breakups anymore.
Now I've learned
it's forever.
Like now I've learned she got statute of limitation now. Like I'm like, dang, they done made you a citizen. They done made you they really.
And bro, her name is Rose Bush.
And
it's a perfect name.
That's forever.
And like she be like now they're gonna be like. You brought her all the way over here to just to fool over her, Mr. Bush. Why would you do that? That's the way it goes out.
When you said and we'll get the one-on-one matchups in 1 sec. Was it Bull who thought your wife's name was Rose Bush Bush when he first told us it was Rose Bush?
Yeah. Like he was like, it's Rose Bush Bush. I'm like, no, there's not two words.
When he said her name was Rose Bush, he was like, I think it was Bull.
Oh, so he then thought
it was her name was Rose Bush.
Who in the hell would name their child Rose Bush?
I don't know, but
Bull really thought that was her first name?
I think it was Bull. Yeah. It was someone in here.
Bush.
Well, he was like, so her name's Rose Bush Bush? And we're like, no, it's Rose
Bush.
Space Bush.
Yeah.
That is one of the great names ever.
But Rose Bush Bush could be a hell of a name.
She has a really long name after that. You know, in the Philippines, they'd be like, Benez Acosta / it's weird.
Yeah, they're bringing all the relatives
all the relative names. I'm like, nah, you got
going back 3 generations on the mom's side.
Yeah.
And what's up? What's next?
Before we get into our last topic, I gotta remind you guys, As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's absolutely no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So you guys can go visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL.
Are we going to do Rams matchups here, or are we going to
Yes.
do Cavs?
Now we'll do Rams matchups.
We'll run through them
Yeah.
quick, and we'll spend the last 5 minutes on Cavs.
Okay.
We'll run through them pretty quick. We only got 3 here.
What's
so.
the biggest matchup in this game for you guys?
Aaron Donald versus Joe Bitonio. Without or Wyatt Teller, you could take your choice, but if Joe Flacco's the quarterback, he needs time in the pocket. And Aaron Donald, we mentioned it before, is as good, if not the greatest ever pass rusher from the interior of the defensive line. He is the highest graded PFF pass rusher 7 consecutive years from 2015 to 2022. And if Joe Flacco is running for his life and there's consistent pressure coming up the middle from that guy, number 99, it's going to be a long day for Joe Flacco. And we have 2 all-pro guards in Joe Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. If those guys can't hold up against Aaron Donald, and by hold up, I mean at least put a little bit of resistance on his path to the quarterback, I do not like Joe Flacco's chances come Sunday.
Me is any Rams receiver versus Greg Newsome.
You're scared now, aren't you? And the reason we say any, they've got double
really
barrel
good
where
ones.
they can come at you with Cooper
Yeah,
Kupp or
yeah,
now Nacua.
Yeah.
That could be bad.
And here's the thing. I think one thing that they do well, and you talk about McVay, they seem to always get some shot plays in.
Yep.
They always seem to, and a lot of what the passing game is now is just get a guy isolated and throw it up there, because it's so much that can happen: illegal contact, holding,
interference.
pass interference. So now on offense, it's just about shifting and saying, okay, if I can get my guy on one-on-one with you and throw it up, there's about a 75% chance something bad can happen for you.
The other thing is, in that scenario, the offensive wide receiver has to be more aggressive at becoming a defender on the toss-up balls.
Yep.
I see too many times in the NFL where the wide receiver realizes he's not going to catch it, and he doesn't turn into a defender. If that's a throw-up ball and the defender is in better position to get it, you need to do whatever you need to do, including pass interference.
Right.
Because
Take the
you
15.
keep the football in that scenario. When you don't defend that, you're giving the football up, and you just can't do that.
How would you guys match up Newsome? Let's assume Denzel's not playing. He didn't practice again yesterday, so he's probably unlikely to play on Sunday. How would you match up Newsome and Emerson against Kupp and Nacua?
I think I'd put Emerson on Nacua. At this point in their career, I think Nacua is the fresher legs. Cooper Kupp's numbers have just been pedestrian. He hasn't.
Last 5 weeks, he's not been good.
He has not been Cooper Kupp. So
Underneath.
I want Emerson on their biggest threat.
Yep.
Who I still think I think now is Nacua. I don't think it's Cooper Kupp anymore.
Yeah, I think it's Nacua. And I'll say this. I was talking to Travis in the barbershop on, I believe it was Monday. I said, look, Denzel Ward is the difference between this defense being good or elite. Because
we saw it Sunday.
We saw that. Because if they can't play man-to-man coverage and slide Newsome into the slot and do what they do, and JOK and those guys, it's just a different look. It's just
they were getting gashed in the run game at times on Sunday.
Yeah.
And again, Sunday was such a weird game to me because when you're watching it, you got the sense that the Broncos were having a lot of success offensively, but the final numbers,
pedestrian.
I mean, Russell threw for 135.
Yeah.
They had fewer than 300 total yards. To have 29 points with fewer than 300 yards, you got to have a safety. You got to have a short field giveaway, and they did. But they were effective. They were efficient. When they needed to move it, they moved it, and you didn't see their punter a whole lot. And I think the matchup that I'm going to be most watching is actually, and you make a lot of sense with the Aaron Donald against the Browns guards. But for me, I think this game comes down to one thing. Who's playing for the Browns defense? Mm-hmm. And I said this yesterday. The 3 that are in question are Anthony Walker. Did Walker practice yesterday? I don't think he did.
I don't think he did, though.
Yeah, I don't think he did either.
I heard
but
too.
For me, the big 3, one at each level, Myles Garrett, Anthony Walker, Denzel Ward. I think if you have two of those three, you can win.
Yeah.
And even if one of those two is a handicapped Myles Garrett with half a left arm,
Right.
I still think that him being out there is going to draw attention away from other Browns defenders, and they'd be able to get home. But you got to have two of those three. So for me, it's going to be an injured Myles Garrett against the Rams' offensive front.
So Anthony Walker was technically limited in practice yesterday, which means
Okay.
he was able to do something.
That's a good sign.
Something can mean anything. He was limited.
Yeah.
But whether he can go, and JOK trying to stop Kyren Williams, by the way, who's been phenomenal the last couple of weeks, and he's not just a runner, but he's been really good in the screen game as well. And that's where JOK and Walker come in to try and track him down. He had 2 receiving touchdowns last week against Arizona. He's gone over 100 yards on the ground in 3 of the last 4 games, over 200 yards total in 2 of their last 3 games. If it's not via ground, it's by air. He's been the focal point of their offense, even with Kupp and Nacua in the lineup. So whether it's JOK or preferably JOK and Anthony Walker trying to chase down 23, the Browns are going to need pretty heroic performances from their linebackers. And tomorrow on the WKYC show, Coach Tyvis is going to break down some JOK film to show what he's done, what he did so well against Denver, and what he's going to have to do against LA to keep that up and shut him down.
We talked
He's
about
been
it
so
yesterday,
good,
but
so good.
stunning turnaround. Like comeback player of the year worthy.
Yeah.
He has no
At
shot
least
at that.
on this, no, for the Browns.
Oh, for the Browns,
For the
yeah,
Browns. Like a guy that we were giving up on him. DeQuell said he would have cut him. And he knows the position as well as anybody. And he just said there's nothing there. And here he is playing at times like a Pro Bowl linebacker. And I think that's a huge testament to the work he did, but also to Schwarzenegger.
I believe this. Like, it's a chicken or the egg. Is a player born special and then they just do what they want to? Or is it players are always, they're about even, give or take. All of them are athletic, all of them are talented. It just takes the right coach to let them do certain things. And I truly believe that it's a lot to do with coaching. I know a lot of people don't put any, merit in it. They think it's just all the players. But, there is no Steph Curry without Steve Kerr. There is no, like.
So you're saying LeBron James wouldn't be LeBron if it wasn't for David Blatt?
That's funny. What I'm saying.
No, he said there's some people that are just born to be great, and there's others that need that molding. They need that coaching, that direction.
He needed DeQuell.
But he's right. Patrick Mahomes, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is meant for Andy Reid. You know why? Because Andy Reid is going to let him do that. We just go back and listen to Bernie Kosar. Bernie obviously knew what he was doing, but Bill Belichick knew what he was doing too. Sometimes you just don't mix and match. Like, you couldn't run that type of offense. Patrick Mahomes, there's some coaches that will put him in a box and say 1, 2, 3, stack your quarterback, stay in your progressions. But then when you get somebody that can unlock you and you already have talent, now you're in trouble. Now it's transcendent because now you got somebody that could add what they add to the game, which is letting you be free of play.
It's like letting a point guard be a point guard.
Yes.
Like create.
Yeah.
Obviously there's parameters to every offense, and you're in a team structure. But I think that's well said. Andy Reid was the perfect guy for Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes was the perfect guy for Andy Reid.
Yeah.
It's worked. It's definitely worked. All right, we're going to do some Super Chats and get out of here.
Yeah, sounds good to me, but every time we read Super Chats, guys, I want to remind you that it's brought to you by PCC Airfoils. Are you looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils are located in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions at $18 and up. Plus, you can get a full benefit package, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. So, guys, I got about 5 Super Chats here. The first one here comes from Chris. Browns have the best defensive team in forever. They'll bounce back this week. Multiple turnovers. Kool-Aid Mafia.
There we go.
I can see it. I can see it.
Rated says, I bet once a drive goes wrong, Joe throws a pick or something, the fans are going to go and call for RG3 or Cam. We have the most impatient fan base. Love the show, guys. Go Browns.
I agree with that. It'll be the wrong idea, but I agree with it.
From Ronaldo Archer, my only real concern about Flacco is how long can he survive taking real, live, serious NFL hits? As an immobile statue in the pocket, is his body ready for a pounding? Defenses will see red and attack hard, which was one of my concerns, too, that I brought up on Behind the Glass.
Yeah. He's old. I mean, he's 38.
You can run the ball 50 times.
Well, you know what? Here's what we've learned. You don't have to be old to get knocked out of the game as a quarterback.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
That's true.
I mean, DTR, it happens to him every time he plays.
He's a chick.
Like,
He's a young chick, and he got blasted. If you're 38 or 18 or 28, that's going to knock you out of the game.
You know what? Thank you so much for saying that. Sometimes you guys say stuff, and I'm like, damn it, why didn't I think of that?
I mean, it's just all those. The quarterback has a target, even though they've changed the rules to protect them. We're on quarterback number 51.
Is there something to the fact that because it's so hard to hit them legally, when you can theoretically hit them legally, players are just getting their full-on, like, full Donkey Kong,
They're
hold
going
up the
for
B
it.
button, you know, in Smash Brothers G, like you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, okay,
like is
They're
that
using the
Another
turbo
reference.
button when they get a chance.
yeah, it feels like
That's why it's so impressive that Patrick Mahomes has run and has stayed healthy, because he's like chasing a chicken. He's so hard, and Michael Vick was also this way. They're so hard to get a good, clean shot on.
Lamar's the best at that.
Oh,
never get squared up.
Tremendous.
You know, I didn't have so many surgeries that, like, I remember having, like, low self-esteem. Like, I used to be like, man, am I injury prone? Or, like, what is it? Like, how come I'm like, I used to be able to go, like, when I was younger, I would go play 2-a-days, but then go play pickup basketball during the day
And not get hurt.
No, you know, my orthopedic surgeon, he said, your body isn't meant to play a game like football, so it's just a matter of time you're going to get
Some
hurt.
people are more prone to soft tissue
tissue
injuries.
It is what it is. Like, you only got a certain amount of plays in your body. It is.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know when it's going to go. So, like, you know, ligaments is non-weight bearing. Like, you can't strengthen a ligament.
You can't. In fact, sometimes when you strengthen the muscles around them, you're going to stress them more than they were intended to be stressed.
Yep. It's crazy.
Which is, it's almost oxymoronic, but when you can't strengthen the ligament, but you can overpower a ligament with bigger muscle, and obviously you can add muscle mass for sure.
It's just,
but you got to be careful.
You play football, you will get hurt. It's just a matter of
It's a gladiator sport.
And what's up next?
Yeah, we actually just were talking about this. Kevin Robinson asked if we needed a new strength coach for less injuries. I think you guys just
I've had a
addressed
couple
that
people ask me that
sometimes.
this year. I mean, most of them are fluke injuries.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are certain things that you can't avoid through injury, and there's certain things that you can do that can lead to injury. We just talked about one of them. But I think for the most part, it's just bad luck.
Like, don't tell me Nick Chubb got hurt because he can only squat 694 pounds and not 725 pounds.
Right.
Like,
he got hit from an angle where, I mean,
every running back in the league would have been in the same position if they were Nick Chubb.
And like,
that ACL was going down no matter what.
and you got to think about it like this. Like, I always tell people, like, offensive linemen and, like, these people, the TV doesn't give it justice.
They're huge.
Do you know, like,
aliens.
Joe Bitonio will run a regular human down.
Oh yeah, it's like a grizzly. It's like a grizzly bear.
He's bigger than you, stronger than you, and he's fast. Like, if a normal person were to take these hits, they die.
Yeah.
Like perish. Like there's nothing you can do. You can't lift weights for that. Somebody that fast having these car accidents every 5 or 10 seconds.
The term is gen pop. Like athletes refer to civilians oftentimes as gen pop.
Yeah.
Their general population.
Yeah.
And I've heard pro athletes, particularly big football players, talk about what you just said. You put the average person from gen pop on a football field and take one hit, it's a wrap. It's
done.
over. They're done.
Ambulance. You're taking them off in an ambulance.
It is so violent, and you're right, TV doesn't do it justice. I remember the first time I ever stood on the sidelines of an NFL game. I was 23 years old.
Coolest thing ever.
And my eyes were wide open the entire time. I don't know how they ever get up from big hits and collisions, and they pop up one after another after another. That's why they say on Monday and Tuesday, feels like they've been through a car wreck.
And they just keep getting faster. And they keep
stronger.
getting bigger and stronger. I go to the field and look at them and be like, there's no way I could play right now. None.
No, bigger, stronger, faster than ever before.
Two more. Ant. What's up?
All right, so Mac Dog says Kelce brothers are not the only homegrown football players. Josh Cribbs, Paul Warfield, Big Ben, Desmond Howard, and Woodson were all great players. And then Ray Smith says he's not always a fan of the play calling, but Stefanski is the best coach in his lifetime. Continuity in the NFL breeds winning. Kool-Aid Mafia.
There you go.
Not wrong.
There we go.
Not wrong.
All right, what are we going to do for overtime? Do we want to tease ahead to that? We haven't talked about memberships and likes yet today, have we?
No.
We haven't done that. So if you're watching and you're a regular viewer of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, hit the like button. It's free. It helps us a lot. Also, if you haven't done so already, and we know more than 30-some thousand have, hit the subscribe. You'll be notified whenever there's breaking news. UCSS shines the bat light, like they did on Batman, and one of the UCSS cast members will scurry in front of a camera, a phone, somewhere, and they'll be bringing you live content on that said breaking news. So if you're a Cleveland sports fan and you want to know the very latest as it happens, hit that subscribe button, and you'll never miss a live show, because it can happen at 3:30 today.
So it happened. Miles Garrett, they said he was not injured for the year. Everybody was happy. It happened right at the end of the barbershop. We did a little 15 minutes, and everybody was cool to go.
That's right.
So for overtime, we get to talk Cavs, or we could bring Jimmy in. We could talk some.
Oh yeah, I want McNugget stories.
We need
McNugget
stories.
So we
In
have
front of
in
his girl.
studio today one of McNugget's college basketball teammates.
Shout out
I
Jimmy
told
Rose.
him
Blue
before
Squad,
the show
baby.
started, I need 5 great McNugget stories. There he is.
That's a great shot of a camera.
It looks like a camera. He's actually a cameraman. There he is. He's going to join us with some McNugget stories that you don't want to miss. So if you haven't become a Coaches Tier member yet, that gives you free access to all of our overtimes. You may want to spend the $1.99 a month. Is that what it is?
$4.99.
$4.99 a month.
And his girl
Damn
is
inflation.
here. He's going to give me incriminating information.
Oh, his girl is here, too.
That's so crazy.
Gabby's got to go pick up Eli for lunch, so maybe not
Are
Gabby.
Gabby, do you want the
picking her
producer
out?
mic?